Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campia, and this is a companion video. What are companion videos? Well, I'm glad that you asked. See, every day on the John Campia Show, we take a little bit of time to take live questions from the audience, but we don't always have time to get around to all those live questions. But I want to make sure those questions, if you sent them in, they get answered on a video. So I bring those unused questions here, and we do them on companion videos. So, without wasting any time, let's dive right into the companion videos today. And we're going to get things started with Mike Hill, who writes, did you get to ask Paige a question? If so, what? Okay, so what Mike is talking about is the other night, me and Ann and my brother-in-law Ray and my buddy Ryan, we went to go to a screening of Fighting with My Family. It's the new one produced by The Rock, and The Rock is in it. And it's about, it's a true story, it's a biography in a way of this wrestler Paige. And Ray's been a massive fan of Paige for years, so they had this screening of it with Paige and Vince Vaughn going to be there doing a question and answer after the screening. So we went to go see it, and yes, I got to ask a question. I asked Paige, because her brother was also there, who is a main character in the movie. Her brother was there, and I just asked them, you know, the movie's very funny, but it also has heart, and the heart comes from when your characters are shown as flawed and doing dumb things and making mistakes and whatever. I asked them, you know, what were those conversations like with Steven, the director, about wanting to do things that exposed you that way? And they gave a great answer, and it was a great screening, and I really had a good time. So thanks for asking, and go see it. It's surprisingly good. This Fighting with My Family is surprisingly good. Go check it out. Okay, Jonathan Teft writes, thoughts on the firefighter movie, Only the Brave. I think it's a great movie from 2017 that a lot of people overlooked when it came out. Yeah, that's the one with Josh Brolin and, oh, Mr. Fantastic. Miles, why am I forgetting his name? The kid who plays Mr. Fantastic. Anyway, I quite enjoyed it. I liked it. I mean, it wasn't like a Best Picture of the Year nominee kind of a film to me. It wasn't like a movie that was that I was going to remember and go back and watch every year. But, oh, Taylor Kitsch is also in it. Taylor Kitsch is also in it. Anyway, but it's based on a true story, and I was drawn into it. And we always think of first responders as being like heroic and they're great, but we take that for granted, I think, even when we think of them as heroes. And then you see a movie like Only the Brave, and you see, you know, what kind of peril they face. And it was moving and emotional and heartwarming. And yeah, I dug it. I had a very, very good time with it. All right, let's see here. Jonathan Teff follows up with, I'm really sad that it looks like Star Trek 4 won't happen, since I think they finally got it right with Star Trek Beyond. Well, I'll tell you what, I thought they got it right with the other two. I thought the first Star Trek was really good. The one with J.J. Abrams. I thought Into Darkness wasn't as good as the first Star Trek, but I still thought it was quite good. And I loved Beyond. Beyond was the best one. And it was also the lowest grossing one. Mostly because I think the first trailer was terrible. The first trailer for Star Trek Beyond was just awful. So I'm not really surprised that did, but the sad thing is, it was the best one they had done, and with Chris Pine and Chris Hemsworth not signing on, refusing to take pay cuts, and Paramount can't make the movie for the budgets they thought they could make it for. Unfortunately, it looks like this thing's not going to happen. So right now, it looks like the home for Star Trek is on television. All right, let's move on here. Let's see, Haskell. 420 says, did you also love Supernatural episode 300 with Jeffrey Dean Morgan? Yes, I did. You guys know I've been watching Supernatural for a long time, and they had their 300th episode, and for their 300th episode, they brought back Negan, Bruce Wayne's dad. They brought the comedian from Watchmen. They brought back Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and it was a wonderful episode. And I don't know anything, but it almost felt like the end of it left the door open a little bit that they may have him come back again later. I hope they do at any rate. Joe Clem, 15, writes, is the new movie Little a sequel to Big? I don't know. No, it's not. But it sure feels like Big, doesn't it? Except in reverse. And I guess it's Regina Hall who plays this businesswoman. She's hard ass, and a kid says, "I wish you were little," and she wakes up the next day and she's a little kid. Unlike Big, where it's a kid who's then a grown up. I gotta tell you, I saw the first trailer. It's cute. The first trailer is cute. So, but no, as far as I know, I could be wrong, but as far as I know, no, it is not a sequel to Big in any stretch of the imagination. All right, Jonathan Teft writes, do you think that with the success of Spider-Verse, that DC could give their straight-to-DVD animated movies a little bit more of a budget and release them in theaters? I would love for this to happen. I don't. I don't. Mostly because their animated movies suck. Now, I'm sorry. I know a lot of people like those things they do. And look, there are exceptions. There are exceptions. But for me, 90% of the Marvel animated stuff and 90% of the DC animated stuff is pure garbage. It's just, produce this in 6 months and put it out. Most of it is just pure nonsense. Now, The Dark Knight Returns, exception. Batman Under the Red Hood, exception. The Doctor Strange animated one from Marvel, exception. But most of them are pure trash. And they're made that way. And Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse has absolutely nothing in common with those other Marvel or those other DC animated properties. Nothing in common. Those things are made on the cheap. And they put little to no effort in their scripts. And they just crank them out and put them out to home video because they know they'll make a little bit of money on it. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is made to be a motion picture with years of development and all this kind of stuff. It's a total, just because they're both animated doesn't mean they have similarities. The similarities end there. Is that the fact that they're animated? That's it. Now look, again, no offense to you if you're somebody who really enjoys those Marvel and DC animated things. I just find them to be mostly trash. And they're so fundamentally different from what we got with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. That was a totally different thing, made on a totally different level. And anyway, so I don't think so. I don't think Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is going to make DC or Marvel rethink their crank out these cheap animated films. But it is making DC think about doing animated films, right? They got Super Pets. We got Super Pets coming. We're hearing there's some talk, no official announcement or anything, and it may never happen, but there's at least talk of maybe an animated Batman Beyond film. So, I mean, a lot of people have been asking for Batman Beyond, which I think could never happen, but it could happen animated. And if it happens animated and is well received, that could open the door for a live action Batman Beyond thing as we move forward. But now I'm getting ahead of myself. But as far as the standard stuff that we're getting from DC, no, I don't think the Spider-Verse has anything to do with that, to be frank with you. All right. Pedro Augusto Marquez writes, saw Vice only now in my country. Way to help piracy. You know what, Pedro? That is a point I've been trying to make for years. It's like, you want to help fight piracy? You want to start cutting down piracy? Shorten the release window between when a movie opens in North America and when it opens in other countries around the world. Because you open a movie in North America, and all of the internet, we're all connected by the internet now. Everybody on the internet gets talking about it. Everybody starts buzzing about it. But then there's a bunch of guys sitting in Poland or, Sweden or wherever, Korea, where it's like, okay, yeah, that movie's out and everybody's talking about it. And it doesn't come out here for another 2.5 months. All you're doing is encouraging piracy at that point. You want to reduce piracy? You don't have to release everything on the same day everywhere, but shorten that window up. Make it so some guy, if he's sitting in, in the Czech Republic, he's sitting there and saying, man, this Avengers sounds really good. At least then make him only have to wait a week or 2 weeks. This whole thing where the people have to wait months, it just encourages piracy, I think. Ram Arma 30 writes, Endgame will be the first real Avengers movie. For the first time, the Avengers will actually be avenging instead of protecting. Well, no, the Avengers was the first real Avengers movie. The Avengers is not a description of their function. The Avengers is just the name of the group. The Avengers are not meant to be out avenging. And by the way, in Avengers Endgame, they're not out avenging. The point of the movie is not to hunt down and kill Thanos. Now, they may or may not kill Thanos in the movie, but the point of the movie, the mission of the movie, is not to go and hunt down and kill Thanos and avenge what he did. No, the mission of the movie is to try to heal. The mission of the movie is to try to undo what was done. So even then, it's not avenging. So now, don't get too caught up in the semantics of the word Avenger. Don't get too caught up in it, man. All right, let's move on here. Madeline Ponthio writes, what are your thoughts on Captain Marvel? Flop? Oh, no, it's not going to flop. No way. You have to be a world-class moron to think it's going to flop. Because to flop means it's got to make like worldwide $375 million. Anything over that, and it's broken even, and it's profitable. So if you think Captain Marvel's going to flop, you're a special kind of stupid. It ain't going to flop. It may not be $1 billion film. It may not even be an $800 million film. Hell, it may not even be a $700 million film. But it's going to make money. It's going to make money. Look, I said from the very beginning, if you're looking at a couple of Marvel movies, like say, for example, you're talking about Ant-Man and you're talking about Black Panther. And I've said for a while, I believe Captain Marvel will finish in its box office closer to Ant-Man than to Black Panther. Black Panther, 1.3 billion. Ant-Man, 600 something million. I believe Captain Marvel is going to end closer to the Ant-Man numbers. Like 700, 675, 750. I don't think it's going to finish closer to Black Panther numbers, which is like, 1 billion, 1.1 billion, let alone 1.3, which is where Black Panther finished. So I don't think Captain Marvel is going to be this smash, door-busting, runaway, complete smash hit. Like that's one of the biggest money-making movies of all time. I don't think that. I don't think that at all. I know some other people do, but I don't. But it doesn't need to. But still, the thought of it flopping, making like 375, and by the way, that's the number it's got to make. You cannot call Captain Marvel a flop unless it finishes at 375 million or less. Unless it finishes firmly in the money-losing territory, because you cannot, unless you're trying to spin things for your agenda, you cannot objectively say Captain Marvel or any movie is a flop if it's profitable. Now, it can be like Justice League, which I think actually made a little bit of money. You can call it, underperforming. You can call it even disappointing, but you cannot call Justice League a flop because it actually made back its money and actually made a little bit of money. As long as it does that, it's not a flop. Captain Marvel, no way. Like I said, I think you gotta be a special kind of dumb to think Captain Marvel's gonna flop. It will not. It will absolutely not. Ben Rayner writes, thoughts on Corvette Summer movie? Worth seeing? Or God, are you talking about like the Mark Hamill movie? From like the late 1970s, early 1980s? Oh God, man, I don't know. I saw that maybe when I was like 12 years old on VHS. I have almost no recollection. Assuming we're talking about the right movie, Ben, I have no recollection. Look, you might want to watch it just because Mark Hamill's in it, if I'm thinking of the right movie. But other than that, I couldn't answer that for you, Ben. I don't know. Jeff Jones writes, my 3 favorite gay-themed movies are Birdcage. That's a good one. Birdcage is a really good one. With Robin Williams, Tu Wong Fu, and Boat Trip. Oh, really? Boat Trip? I don't know that I'd put Boat Trip. I don't think I'd put Boat Trip in mine, but it's in yours. Jeff, I'm going to assume you're the guy who asked me the other day what some of my favorites were, and I believe the 3 that I said were, one is Chasing Amy, another one is Kiss of Jessica Stein, and another one is But I'm a Cheerleader. Those are 3 that I really like, but Birdcage with Robin Williams and Nathan Lane is a really good one too. That's maybe one I should bump one of the other films off my list and put up there because that one's really good too. Good pick. All right. Richard Karate writes, who is better, Peyton Manning or Tom Brady? Well, simple answer, Richard. Which one has 6 rings on their fingers? That guy. And most of the records, that guy. Yeah, Tom Brady's the GOAT. He's the GOAT. He's just the GOAT. Not to take anything away from Peyton Manning. He's amazing. But yeah, Tom Brady's the GOAT. Tyler Mitchell writes, Oscar Isaac is Wolverine for the MCU. Make it happen, fan. Cast the Fantastic Four, please. I don't know. Look, you guys know my whole philosophy when it comes to what actor should play what role. I really don't care as long as it's a good, solid, talented actor. So, if they were to announce tomorrow that Oscar Isaac was going to play Wolverine, I think he's a very good actor, so I'll go, okay, cool. Is he the guy I would cast? No. But if they announced him being cast, I'd be okay. Yeah. Then they know something I don't, and he's a talented actor. As long as you got a talented actor, that opens up a lot of possibilities. So I'd be down for it, but again, wouldn't be save my top 10 pick. Wouldn't be in my top 10 pick. All right. Ram Arma 30 writes, I've been burned way too many times by DC from their debacle with Affleck and Cavill. Aquaman had bad dialogue and poor chemistry. I'm big on character work. Hope Shazam kills it. I won't be watching. Well, I mean, look, I know where you're coming from. Like, I'm one of these guys that I liked each and every one of the DC Cinematic Universe movies. Now, some more than others. And I didn't necessarily, like Suicide Squad, I didn't love, but I had fun with it, even though I know the film is a hot mess. I like Batman vs. Superman, even though I know it has problems. I like Justice League quite a bit, actually, even though I know it had problems. But I totally get where you and other people are coming from when you say that, man, I'm just turned off by DC. Because I can totally see, even though I liked all of them, I could totally see why anybody wouldn't like all of them. And I liked Aquaman, but yeah, it had some bad dialogue. It had some cheesy stuff in it, sure, but I still thought it was fun. What I would say is this. Just because other films of different heroes made by different filmmakers didn't work for you, I would encourage you not to automatically just throw the baby out with the proverbial bathwater and say, well, that's it, no more DC film, because this Shazam movie is a different director, which is the most important thing. It's a different director, a different character, a different script, different screenwriters, and a different cast. Why hold against Shazam? Like, let's say you hated all the other DC movies. Okay, fine, but why would you hold that against this movie? Now, look, if Shazam doesn't look any good to you, then by all means don't see it. But if you think Shazam is looking like it could be pretty good, don't let the fact that some other movie who had a different writer and had a different director and was based around a different character, don't let that turn you off seeing this. Again, if you don't think the movie looks good, by all means, don't go see it. But I would really encourage you that if you think this Shazam movie looks pretty good, I think it looks fabulous. But if you think, hey, this Shazam movie, this looks okay, then give it a shot. Don't hold those other films against it, because Shazam had nothing to do with those other films. So give it a shot if you want. All right. Thanks a lot for the question, man. Justin Square writes, thoughts on the 300th episode of Supernatural? Well, I actually kind of answered that already a little bit earlier. I had a great time with it. Not the best episode of Supernatural of all time, but I really enjoyed it. Seeing Jeffrey Dean Morgan back with the boys. Like I said, it doesn't matter how many movies you put Jeffrey Dean Morgan in. It doesn't matter if he wins Academy Awards. To me, he will always be John Winchester. He will always be Sam and Dean's dad. And I enjoyed it a great deal. Thanks for asking. All right. Sempaigar writes, saw a thumbnail of a video with Aladdin, Dumbo, Lion King posters, and title was, I hate the new Disney films. They haven't even come out yet, my God. Well, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Look, there is a pocket of YouTube that likes to be identified by what they hate. Because there are people out there who knows that hate gets clicks. And they're not wrong. They're not wrong. Hate does get clicks. You know, when I did my panel at Comic-Con this past summer, and I was doing it on how to get started in YouTubing and all that kind of stuff, the one thing I pleaded with the audience was, no matter what it is you want to make your YouTube channel about, don't identify yourself and don't become identifiable by what you hate. You know what I mean? You know, be identified by what you love. That doesn't mean don't hate anything. That doesn't mean love everything, but don't be so centered on hate that you just become known as what it is you hate, right? So it's fine to dislike movies. Like, let's say you're doing a movie channel. It's fine to dislike movies and whatever. Don't make your whole channel about, I hate this. And I get it. The allure of hate clicks is very attractive because it gets you clicks. You know, why this sucks. That'll get a bunch of clicks. Why that sucks. That'll get a bunch of clicks. Why this is the worst thing ever. That'll get you a bunch of clicks. Hate will get you a bunch of clicks. But, you know, there are channels out there that have just become nothing but that. They've just become completely identified, whether they want to admit it or not. They are now just simply known, oh, they're the guys that hate this. You know, and it doesn't even have to be in the movie world. It can be in the video game world. You know, that channel, yeah, that's a channel with the guy who hates this. Or it can be about, you know, celebrity gossip. That's the girl who hates this. You know, there are a lot of channels out there that get drawn into the seductive nature of hate, get obsessed with the clicks that hate can give you, and then they just base their whole identity around hating whatever that is. And it's okay to dislike things. You know, I put out negative film reviews. I talk about things that I don't like and blah, blah, blah. But I never want to be identified. I never want to be so focused on hate that I become identified with it. That's, you know, that just when you first think of John Campbell, think, oh, he's the guy who hates that. And so, yeah, but it's there. And, yeah, a good example of that is somebody writing about, I hate these new films that person has never even seen yet, but they know that hate gets clicks. So, hey, man, it's a part of the reality. It's what's out there now. Anyway, Josh Crichton writes, John, I got my first hot toy for my birthday from my grandma, and it's finally came this week. It's an Avenger Infinity War Black Widow. Nice. I already told Rob. Yeah, I have 4 hot toys. I have my all precious, my favorite one is, you can't see it, it's just out of camera range here. It's my Jor-El. I've shown it on the show before. My Jor-El from Man of Steel, played by Russell Crowe. It is my favorite hot toy that I have. My next favorite one that I have is the Anthony Hopkins All-Father Odin from the first Thor movie. And then the 2 other ones I have are a Boba Fett hot toy, which again, you can't see it. It's just out of camera right up there. Boba Fett and Alien. The Alien is a really cool one too. So those are the 4 that I have. Clearly I have like hundreds of pops, but they're much cheaper. You know, I can get 30 pops for what it costs to buy 1 hot toy. But that sounds like a really good one to have, man. Thanks for sharing that. All right. Ram Arma 30 writes again, is it unfair to others that the only franchise I seem to be interested in is Marvel? I feel for the most part they haven't let me down. Well, look, as a film fan, you don't owe any studio anything. You are not obligated to like or dislike anything, nor are you obligated to give anything a chance. That's not your obligation. The only obligation you have is to watch what you think might entertain you. As an audience member, that is the only obligation you have. Now, some may argue that if you're being unfair to anybody, that you might be acting a little unfair towards yourself if you're closing off. Like, for instance, you were just talking about the Shazam movie, right? You might be acting unfair towards yourself. If you go like, nope, because it's DC, I'm not going to watch it. Okay, you're not obligated to watch it, but like I said before, if you think it looks good, like if you honestly look at it and go, that looks pretty good, you might be acting a little unfair towards yourself if you just then go, well, tough. It doesn't matter if I think it looks good. I'm just not going to see it. Okay, Well, the only person you're shortchanging is yourself then. But are you being unfair to anything else? Nope. You don't owe any movie studio, any film franchise, nothing. You don't owe them anything. You watch what you want to watch. The only question is, are you going to be fair to yourself? And that's the one thing I would challenge you with. All right, Jeff Jones writes, I have seen Stargate, Buffy, Angel, Firefly, Grimm, Spartacus, Vikings, Game of Thrones, Walking Dead, Criminal Minds, Ozark, and Dexter. I have not seen Sons of Anarchy. Ooh, got to get on that. Sopranos. Oh, you got to get on that. Breaking Bad, Battlestar Galactica, Supernatural. Woo! Man, those are like some of the great, like almost all those shows are better than a lot of the shows on the list that you have seen. Yeah, Sons of Anarchy is in my top 3. Battlestar Galactica is my all-time #1 show. Breaking Bad is a lot of other people's all-time #1 show. Supernatural is a show I've just been in love with for a long time. And Sopranos, there's a hell of a lot of people out there that think Sopranos is the greatest show ever made. So, shows like Sopranos, The Wire, things like that. So, wow, you've got a lot. I'm not even a fan of Ozark. I tried watching Ozark, and I just couldn't get into it. Firefly's great. Grimm was really fun other than the last season. Spartacus is also my top 3 all-time favorites. I liked Vikings until the lead character got killed off. I'm not a huge fan of Walking Dead, but I like Walking Dead. I never did watch Criminal Minds. Never watched Criminal Minds. I've always thought I should because I know it had a nice long run. And Dexter I thought was great. But yeah, man, you got to get on Sons of Anarchy, Sopranos, Breaking Bad, Battlestar Galactica. Yeah, you got to get on all that stuff. You got a lot of watching to do ahead of you, Jeff. You got a lot of watching to do ahead of you. All right. Fat Bastard writes, better war film, War Horse or Fury? Oh, that's easy, War Horse. I like Fury. I like Fury very much. Brad Pitt was great in it. John Bernthal was great in it. Shia LaBeouf was fantastic in it. Michael Pena was great in it. It's a really good movie, directed by the director of Suicide Squad, actually. But War Horse, it was nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards for a reason. I thought War Horse was a special film. I just thought it was magnificent and loved it. It's a Steven Spielberg film. But yeah, to me, no question, War Horse is the better film. African Prince writes, have you seen Take Me Home Tonight with Topher Grace? Yes, if so, thoughts on... Yeah, it was like that 80s movie. And I'm trying to remember the girl's name. The girl, it was kind of like her breakout role, the blonde girl. And then she was in I Am Number 7. And then she was in... Warm Blood, or the zombie movie, the romantic zombie movie. I'm trying, you know what? Instead of just sitting here wondering about it, I'm going to pull it up. Hold on a second here. Take Me Home Tonight, IMDb. The girl's name is Teresa Palmer. Teresa Palmer. Love, love, love. Oh, and the movie's not Warm Blood, it's Warm Bodies. Warm Bodies it's a zombie apocalypse romance. Oh yeah, she's also in Lights Out. I love Teresa Palmer. And and she was in Hacksaw Ridge too. She was in Hacksaw Ridge. So yeah, that was great too. I really enjoyed that. Okay, let me move on here now. Jeff Jones writes, I'm a huge Spider-Man fan and Venom my favorite anti-hero. Only movie I've ever walked out was Spider-Man 3. Which have you walked out on and why? Well, I've walked out on a few films in my life. I just saw Alita Battle Angel, and I didn't walk out of that, but it had Jennifer Connelly in it. I walked out of a Jennifer Connelly movie called Dark Water. Awful. Awful film. I walked out on a Johnny Knoxville movie called The Ringer, which is a comedy surrounding Special Olympians. And I understand that what they were trying to do was, the point of the movie was try to increase our understanding and admiration for Special Olympians. And to, I'm struggling for the right words here, which does not happen to me often, but I'm struggling for the right words. Look, the intentions for the movie were good, and I know the intentions for the movie were good, but I became incredibly uncomfortable in that movie because whatever their intention was, And I know they had good intentions. It just felt like, let's make fun of the special needs kids. Let's make fun of the special needs kids. And I understand that's not what they were trying to do, but I just became so uncomfortable with it because it just felt mean-spirited, even though I knew it wasn't mean-spirited. But I just found it very uncomfortable to watch, and ultimately I walked out of the film. And then the other one was called Movie 47 or Movie 37, whatever, that movie of like 27 different comedy sketches in it. Oh, I walked out of that after about 15 minutes. That was like some of the worst crap I'd ever seen. So those are the films that I have walked out on. All right. Tristan Larson writes, at the end of Infinity War, how is it daytime in Wakanda, New York end credits of Infinity War, and San Francisco end credits of Ant-Man all at the same time? It's a good question. I don't know. That's a very good question. So let's see here. In New York, the dusting happens. Yeah. You know what, Tristan? I think you have just found yourself a little plot hole. Not an important one, but I think I have never even thought of that, Tristan. That is a very good point. Because as the snaps happen in San Francisco, now you can have daytime in San Francisco and in New York. Because it's only 3 hours difference, right? Because it can be 1 o'clock in the afternoon in California and 4 p.m. in New York, and it still be daytime. Still be plenty of light out, right? So you can do that. Yeah, Wakanda. I'd have to sit down and do the math. Maybe there is a specific window of time where you would have daylight both in an African nation, in New York, and in San Francisco at the same time. But I'm thinking you might have just found yourself a little plot hole, which is a really good observation, man. I've never even thought of that before. All right. Dim-Sum05 writes, Rotten Tomatoes tells you what percentage of critics gave thumbs up to a movie. A standardized rating scale that all critics use would make it possible, let's try this, to create a website that pools all the scores that critics gave and give the movie an average rating from those. Do you think that's a good idea? No, I actually think that's a very bad idea. That has been floated before. So basically what Dim Sum is asking is this. Okay, so Rotten Tomatoes, and it still shocks me how many people still today don't understand the basic mechanics of Rotten Tomatoes. There are still people who think Rotten Tomatoes gives a movie a score. That is not what happens. All Rotten Tomatoes does is it goes out and collects all the movie reviews from all the different, whether it's online, radio, magazine, whatever, they get all the reviews from all the various film critics. And they see what percentage of those film critics liked the movie and which percentage of them didn't like the movie. Then what Rotten Tomatoes does say, okay, we read all the reviews from all the different film critics. Pardon me, guys. From all the different film critics. And what we've come up with is that it looks like, at the end of the day, 71% of the critics like this movie. Now, it doesn't say that any of those love the movie or think it's the best thing ever. But it says, okay, 71% like the movie. So the score is 71. Rotten Tomatoes doesn't make up a score. They just say, hey, 71% of the critics like the movie. What has been proposed before? And by the way, that means even if a movie has 100% Rotten Tomato meaning, that doesn't mean it's the greatest movie of all time. Because maybe all the critics just thought, yeah, it's good. Maybe none of them thought it was the greatest thing ever. So that's the thing. A number of people have proposed in the past that a scale that averages out the percentage scores of each individual critic. So for example, you thought a movie was a 75 and I thought a movie was a 25. Say, okay, you average that out, 50% rating. The problem with that score is that it can become very misleading. Look, the purpose of a Rotten Tomato is not to give a qualifiable rating or some sort of quality meter to a movie. All it's meant to do is to tell the audience, because remember, film critics are not one group of people. Film critics are not all the same. Film critics are wildly different bunches of people. Like, believe me, I know a lot of film critics. They have wildly different tastes from each other, wildly different lifestyles, live in different places around the country, blah, 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 blah. All very, very different. All Rotten Tomatoes is supposed to do is to give a viewer an idea of, hey, from this really diverse group of people, 71% of them liked it. That tells me I have a fairly good chance of liking the movie if I go see it. That's all it's meant to do. It's not meant to, nor should it be, to try to say, we pooled all the universal knowledge and the quality of this movie is rendered at a 64. No. Just tell me, what percentage of critics like it? That, to me, is a much more pure way of approaching it. It's a much more pure way for a fan who's just trying to figure out if they want to go see the movie. And like, just look, I can look at the Rotten Tomatoes and say, hey, 83% liked it. Okay, doesn't mean I'm going to like it, but I think it means I've got a good chance of liking it. Because if all those people watch it and 83% of them liked it, maybe I'll be one of the 17% that won't, but I think there's a good chance. If a movie gets a 20%, well, there's probably a good chance I won't like it, but you know what? It looks good to me, and maybe I'll be one of those 20%. Maybe I'll be one of those 20% that liked it. You know, it's just a much more pure score than trying to go through and then do... By the way, the other problem with that, Dim Sum, is that now you've got to require all film critics to review movies by a standardized format so that a website could take those numbers and extrapolate them into a final tally. Not a good idea. Not a good idea in my opinion. So Metacritic tries to do something like that. And again, I just don't like it. I like the much more pure notion. I don't care about how much you like it. Just tell me how many people liked it. That's all. Liked it, really liked it, loved it, whatever. Just tell me what percentage of them liked it. That's all I need to know. And it can become very skewed if you try to do standardized thing. And then a Metacritic, which just doesn't even have standardized things, they're just trying to extrapolate. Well, this guy rates it on a thing of 4 stars. This guy rates it from 0 to 100. This guy rates it on 3 potatoes. This guy, and then that's up to the site now to try to in a very flawed way, extrapolate what all that. Just tell me if they like it or not. That's all. That's all I need to know. Good or bad. You liked it or you didn't like it. And I'm not going to worry about how much you liked it or how much you didn't like it. I'll worry about that later. For now, just tell me how much you like it. So that's why I think it's the much better system, in my opinion, at any rate. Okay. Mark123 writes, saw YouTube vids respond to your Ryan Johnson comments, and they were like, John is toxic fandom. He should be punished. Where do these people come from? I have some theories about where they come from, but whatever. You know what's always funny to me, though? I've never seen any of these, but people tell me they exist. But it's always funny to me. 2 things shock me. The first thing that shocks me is how important I am. I didn't realize I was this important. I did not realize I was this big of a celebrity. And that I am so important and have so much power over some people's lives that if I say something they disagree with, I'm not a studio head. I'm not a movie star. I'm not a director. I'm not a president of some country somewhere. But I have so much power over these people that when I say something they don't agree with, they cry like, I got to make a video about this. Click record. I got to talk about how John said something I don't like. It's amazing to me that I have that much power. I never knew. It's kind of fun knowing that I have that much power to totally wreck somebody's day like that. And I'm not out to wreck somebody's day. But that's the first thing that always surprised me when people message me and say, John, so-and-so made a video about you. I was like, who? It's like that Guardians of the Galaxy thing. Who? I have no idea who these people are. But whatever, fine. If you want to give me that much power over your life, and you want to say to the world that I'm so important that you need to talk about how my opinion is different than yours, God bless. Go for it. Anyway, the other thing that really shocks me, or that surprises me more, and this one is more serious, is that there are people out there who have the audacity to think abusive behavior is okay. that abusive behavior is okay. Now, there are people who will try to twist and disguise what I said as, but for those of you who've watched me, you know what I said. I said, hey, look, if you hate The Last Jedi, nothing wrong with that. I've got friends who hate The Last Jedi, and we talk and discuss about it all the time. They just say, hey, I hate the prequels. You're allowed to hate some Star Wars movies. It's cool to if you hate it because it didn't work for you and you had, certain structure issues. Nothing wrong with that at all. What I said, though, and this goes back to that culture of hate, that people know that hate gets clicks, so they just indulge in that. What I said, though, was there is a difference between hating a movie and expressing, certain points about the movie and whatever that you don't like and blah, blah. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. There's a difference between that, though, and then engaging in abusive behavior. There's a difference. There's a line you cross when you, the anonymous, brave keyboard warrior, get on your keyboard, whether it's on Twitter or somebody's personal Instagram page or somebody's Facebook page or whatever, and you start typing out something, and the intention of what you're typing is to hurt somebody. It's not hard to figure out. You see, there's saying, man, I really hated that movie. I thought this movie was terrible. I thought this movie was garbage. You're expressing your thought on the film. But there is a difference between that. And by the way, lots of people who dislike The Last Jedi are just that. They just dislike The Last Jedi. It did not work for them. And they'll go out and say, hey, man, I hated that movie. Man, I thought that was the worst movie they've called Star Wars yet. I think most people who dislike The Last Jedi are sane, rational people that do that. But then there's another group. Groups that these people who center themselves on hate want to pretend don't exist. And they want to defend these groups. And they want to encourage these groups. And these groups are the abusers. Who they do not sit down at a keyboard to write out an objective criticism. They sit down at a keyboard to write words specifically with the intention of abusing and hurting somebody. And there is a difference. There's a difference. Now, the people who run these hate sites, they don't want you to think there's a difference. They think you're too dumb to know that there is a difference. And they feed on that. And they rely on that. They rely on the belief that you're too dumb to know the difference. That's what they think. But the vast, vast, vast majority of us are not too dumb to know that there is a difference between just straight up hating a movie. I hate movies. And engaging in behavior that is just flat out abusive. And these hate sites, what they will do now is, even when they take something as common sense as I just said, and they will write, like as people write to me, they will make videos saying, John Campea says, and I'm paraphrasing, John Campea says anybody who doesn't like The Last Jedi is a cousin-humping, basement-dwelling loser. It's like, no. Again, they want to trick you. They want to lie to people. And they want to assume that people are too stupid to know there is a difference between disliking a movie and then engaging in abusive behavior. They want to pretend that there is no difference between them. They want to pretend that, oh, no. They're just saying, go ahead and abuse. And it's these hate sites that encourage people to act abusively and encourage people and defend people and then be in denial that such abuse actually happens. Now, I will abuse racists, sexists, you name it. If you want to be one of those, I'll do that. I will never abuse you over an opinion you have about a movie. It's a movie. Why on earth would you ever want to abuse somebody over an opinion about a movie? I might joke around with you. You can come to me and say you think The Clone Wars is the greatest movie, and I'll say, you're out of your freaking mind. But it'll be in good nature, and we can have a discussion about it, we can debate about it. I'll never attack you because of what you think about a movie. You love a movie, you hate a movie, doesn't matter. I will never attack you because you love or hate a movie. But once you start acting in abusive behavior, and once you start bringing non-movie issues into it, your racism, your sexism, once you start bringing that into it, then I'm sorry, gloves are off at that point. And you know, all bets are off. And like I said, you have these black holes on YouTube of certain channels that became seduced by the ease that you can get hate clicks with. So they want to foster that hate. They want to rely on they want to assume that you're dumb, and you're not. But they want to assume that you're dumb and you can't tell the difference. You don't know that there's any difference between just disliking a movie and then crossing a line and getting into abusive behavior. And then if anybody out there wants to point out the egregiousness of that, if anybody out there wants to point a finger and point out, guys, abusive behavior is not cool, then that threatens the hate sites. Because they need people to hate. They need it for their clicks. That's what they need. And so if there's somebody out there, and it's not just me, there's lots of other people too. When there's anybody out there who points out, guys, there's a difference between hating a movie and acting abusively, what they will then do is saying, they're just saying you're not allowed to dislike that movie. Huh. Sorry, most people are intelligent and know that there's a difference. Most people are intelligent and knows that there's a difference. So yeah, to me, two surprising things. Number one, that I'm that important. I never knew I was that important. I'd like to dream about being that important someday, but apparently I'm that important. So thank you for making me that important. But the other thing is that they're human beings who just seem to believe that spreading that sort of toxicity, spreading that sort of bile, spreading that sort of cancerous attitudes is okay if it means you get those hate clicks. Let's be clear again. You're allowed to hate The Last Jedi, just like I'm allowed to hate, the Clone Wars. Or just like I'm allowed to hate Attack of the Clones. You're allowed to hate a movie. I'm allowed to hate a movie. Nothing wrong with either of them. But there's a difference between that and you bravely get on your anonymous keyboard warrior hat and start writing out things either towards filmmakers, actors, or other fans who just have a different opinion than you, and start writing out things specifically with the intent of hurting them. That's not being a film fan. That's being an asshole. It is. That's what's being an asshole. And these black hole channels don't want you to know that there's a difference. And there is a difference. And then they'll tell you, John Campea says you're not allowed to dislike The Last Jedi. Oh, hell yes you are. Hell yes you are. But anyway, that's that. So anyway, I vented on that a little bit. But again, it's crazy how important I am. I never knew. Okay, let's see. Sempaigar writes, hey everyone, we have the Family Day stat up in Canada, so I can write this Monday. Haha. So this was written yesterday. Love the show. Obviously, we don't have President's Day in Canada, but we do have a statutory holiday on that Monday anyway. Love the show, and you three do a great job. John, did you get to check out any of the Adam Driver interview? No, I did not. I've got it saved on my watch later list, but I did not have a chance to watch that yet. But I love the fact that you pointed out, because I do want to go back and check that out. And I did put it on my watch later list, so I will get around to that, Sempaigar. Thanks for bringing that up. And I hope you had a good stat holiday up there in Canada. All right. African Prince writes, saw Broom last night, and oh my God, Brie Larson's performance was amazing. And that kid, the kid was great in it. Can't wait for Captain Marvel. Hashtag Brie, will you marry the African Prince? Yeah, I mean, the movie's ridiculously good. It's ridiculously good. And it's all performance. It's just all performance. And they do such a good job with it. And Brie Larson, of course, won the Academy Award for it. She was insanely great in that movie. Now, whether that insane greatness will transfer over to Captain Marvel, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I suspect all evidence points to yes. I suspect she will, but you never know. Like, even Tom Hanks has given a bad performance in his day, and maybe Maybe this could be hers. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, man, the Room, I keep calling it The Room. The Room is a very different movie from Room. So I got to stop saying The Room. It's Room. Room is insanely good. And if you haven't had a chance to check it out, I'd encourage you all to go check that out. All right. Ben Rayner writes, deadline now, Jessica Jones and Punisher canceled. Yeah, we talked about that on the John Campea show today. I mean, really, the two little surprises here were, number one, surprised that they waited this long to announce the cancellation of Punisher, because most of us kind of assumed within a week or two of when Punisher Season 2 came out, that's when they would announce its cancellation. But they didn't. They waited like a full month. Little surprise number two was that they announced the cancellation of Jessica Jones before Season 3 even comes out. I thought they would have waited till after Season 3, but there is an argument to be made that knowing that it gets canceled may draw more attention to this season and may even get more people watching it than maybe would have. I don't know that that's true, but that's just a speculation on my part. All right, let's see here. Koa1708 writes, what's wrong with pineapple on pizza? It's tasty. No, it's the fruit of the devil. It's bad. It's bad. I always fear, whenever I'm in a group of people, whether we're watching football or getting together for a movie night or we got a game night playing Dungeons and Dragons, whatever. Whenever we get a group of people together and we decide we're going to order pizza, I always hold my breath whenever we ask the question, so what do people like? And I always just hold my breath. Please, nobody say pineapple. Please, nobody say pineapple. Now, fortunately, I haven't seen anybody order pineapple in a while. But yeah, I mean, of course I'm joking around, but you're of the devil. You're of the devil if you put pineapple on your pizza. SWRV writes, do you have a problem with MCU Hulk? It feels like he is almost jobbed, gets beat by Tony. He didn't get beat by Tony. There was outside influences, because if he just straight up was trying to win, he was going to win that fight. Thor, again, he never actually lost to Thor. He took a big hit, but then the fight got ended. So he did not lose to Thor. And Thanos. Well, yes, but everybody lost to Thanos. Everybody lost to Thanos. If anything, Thor got in the most significant. If we're talking about UFC fights, they always talk about significant strikes. Hulk got in the most significant strikes, even more than Tony got in on him. You know, Hulk got in the most significant strikes. He came out of nowhere and landed like a good 15 big shots on Thanos before Thanos mounted his comeback. So, but everybody, including everybody working together, lost to Thanos. So that there's no jobbing there whatsoever. Like, come on, Hulk is supposed to be the strongest there is, and we haven't gotten that since Avengers 1. I agree. We haven't seen Hulk be allowed to cut loose. We haven't seen Hulk be allowed to cut loose. And I've talked about this all the time, SW. The notion that there's this theoretical limit to Hulk's strength, which is none. Theoretically speaking, there is no measurable limit to how strong the Hulk is. He is only limited by the amount of rage. The angrier he gets, the stronger he gets. That's the thing with Hulk. But they've never really explored that in the movies. So I don't know if they will or not. They've never really explored that in the movies. So in like Age of Ultron, both Bruce Banner, who is the Hulk, and Tony had to work together to come up with this specific battle armor that we call the Hulkbuster to try to stop the Hulk. But even then, that was mitigated in the sense that he was distracted, he was under a spell, he was like all those asterisks, and Bruce himself is the one who helped develop this armor to fight himself and blah, blah. There's a lot of asterisks there. With Thor, the fight never ended. By the way, Hulk is still convinced he was going to win that fight. But that fight never ended. So who knows where it goes next after that. And by the way, Thor is the god of thunder. So, I mean, that should be a good fight. And the Thanos thing, again, I have no problem with the Thanos thing. I think, and I have no reason to believe this, other than just pure fan speculation, I believe we are going to see Hulk unleashed in Endgame. I really believe we are going to see Hulk in Endgame. I don't know that for sure, But I kind of suspect we will. At least I'm really hoping we will. All right, let's move on here. Cameron W. writes, everyone loves Thundercats. That's not true. Not everybody does. But no one seems to remember Silverhawks. Yeah, I remember Silverhawks. I got to admit, I wasn't a big Silverhawks fan. Better show, theme, and toys, though I did love both. I bet Rob remembers Silverhawks. Well, I remember Silverhawks. I'm going to disagree, though. I did not think it was a better show. I did not think it was a better theme. I did not think they were better toys. I thought Thundercats was the better show. And I think that's why it endured. And that's why it came out. And by the way, Cameron, I've brought this up before. But if you want to see something really fun, jump on YouTube and search YouTube for James McAvoy Thundercats. Hop on YouTube and search for James McAvoy Thundercats. And look for this interview where James McAvoy talks about how he would love to do a Thundercats movie. And he goes into why he thinks the Thundercats movie is so cool and why playing Lion-O would be an awesome thing for an actor to be able to do. It's really quite enlightening. So I would check that out. But you know what? I'll say this, Cameron. Silverhawks doesn't get any love. And I don't think it's as good as Thundercats, but I think it deserves a little bit more love than it gets. So good job spreading the word about Silverhawks. I think that's good to do. All right, thanks for that, Cameron. All right, Ryan Lohner writes, I'm 4 movies into Fast and the Furious. They do get good at some point, right? Also, hashtag Shaw shot first. Yes, you know what? And Ryan, you are in the same boat as me, my friend. I do not like any of the first 3 Fast and the Furious movies. The first Fast and Furious movie was just a blatant ripoff of Point Break. Fast 2 was just bad, and Fast 3 was even the worst. Even though Rob likes, it's only fair to mention, Rob quite likes Fast and Furious 3 Tokyo Drift. I thought it was abysmal. I thought it was terrible, but Rob likes it. Maybe you'll like it too. And I remember going to see Fast and Furious 4 only because I had to review it. I didn't even want to see it. But Fast and the Furious 4, for me, was the first Fast and the Furious movie that I walked out of going, that wasn't bad. And it was really the first Fast and the Furious movie that you could see an evolution happening in that movie of them embracing a different DNA. Look, our movies are ridiculous. Maybe we should just embrace that ridiculousness. And when they did, some cool stuff started to happen, like some fun started to happen in the movies once they embraced that. And then you get into Fast 5, they brought in The Rock, and they just went, this is our DNA now. We are just a ludicrous, balls to the wall, fun, quip, action kind of thing with ridiculous nonsense, massive plot holes, but it doesn't matter. This is our DNA, and we're going to embrace this. And that's where they really started to become entertaining. So I would say 4, I'm hoping that you saw in 4 a little bit of a change. 5 is really where the roof comes off. And then 6 might have even been better. And 7's great too. I thought 8 was good, but 8 was a little bit of a step down from 6 and 7. But 5, I think, is where you're going to find the roof starts to get blown off. So once you check out 5, let me know what you're thinking at that point. All right. Gotta Love Movies writes, just because. Well, thank you, Gotta Love Movies. Just sent in a super chat just because. I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. All right. Mr. Hero writes, Gotham is at its final season. Yes, it is. Lasted longer than I thought. Dude, lasted longer than I thought, too. Cameron Monaghan's portrayal of the Joker deserves more attention. Thoughts? Meh. I don't know. Nah. Look, again, the portrayal is as subjective as anything else. It's going to work for some people. It's not going to work for others. And if it works for you, that's great. But since you're asking me, I will tell you straight up, I am not particularly taken with his incarnation of the Joker. I'm not saying it grades on me every second that he's on screen. And by the way, I haven't watched any of this season yet. And maybe this season is where he really shows his stuff, and maybe I'll change my mind once I see this season. And I will check out this season of Gotham at some point. But from what I saw up until this season, I got to disagree. I don't think it deserves much more attention. I'll be honest with you. I don't think Gotham itself deserves much more attention than it gets. It's a hit and miss show that was at its best when it focused on Gotham and, Gordon. When it was focused on the city of Gotham and James Gordon trying to hold the city together, that's when the show worked. But then they became distracted by, no, we got to be a Batman show. And look, everybody, this kid becomes Batman. Yes, we understand. You've only done this like 50 times. But this kid becomes Batman. Yes, I know, but you don't get it. Look at the cape he just put on. He becomes Batman. Yeah, we get it. That's when the show was at its weakest. Not that the kid playing Bruce was bad. Not at all. He's actually pretty good. I like him. I love the Alfred character. But I'm just saying the show was at its best when it got back to what it was originally supposed to be, which is like this gritty comic book world in which it's a city going bad that's trying to be held together by this one good cop, James Gordon. And to me, that's when the show worked best, but it got away from that a lot. It got away from it a lot. And so it's kind of a hit and miss show for me. Okay. I can't think of a good username writes. Captain Marvel was tracking for 100 million opening weekend. Now it's for around 60. What happened? No, that's not true. Captain Marvel is not tracking for 60. Captain Marvel, and by the way, some people will say, and I understand why, some people will say Captain Marvel was tracking at 160, now it's at 100. Well, yes and no. See, that 160 number that came out, the place that was predicting 160 for Captain Marvel, that was a thing called Box Office Pro. Not to be confused with Box Office Mojo. It's another site called Box Office Pro. And they put out their tracking at $140 to $160 million. They still have their tracking at $140 to $160 million, as a matter of fact. Well, then, John, where did the $100 million number come from? Well, the $100 million number came from other industry people that things like Variety and whatever ran the story of those other industry sources saying $100 million. Those people never said 160. And the guys that did say 160 are still saying 160. But no, nowhere am I seeing 60. Nowhere am I seeing 60. Now, just to double check and make sure, let me bring up here Captain Marvel tracking. All right. Let's see. This one came out yesterday. There was a number that came out yesterday. Okay, so now, actually, the number's gone up. So what's being reported here? The Hollywood Reporter is discussing that the projections of $100 million have now gone up to 120 or more, a number that marks $20 million increase from what had previously been reported. So, Hollywood Reporter is now saying 120. So, no, I don't know where you saw that the tracking was at 160. Completely false. Completely false. By the way, I'm predicting 90. That's my prediction, which would be a huge success. But I don't think it's going to make 130, 150. It might. It very well might. But I'm going to stick my prediction to 90, at least until I see it. Once I see it, I might adjust my opening weekend number. But for now, I'm going to stick to 90. Okay. Let's see. Comic Book Fan writes, while the anti-white male agenda from Brie Larson will the anti-white male agenda from Brie Larson affect the overall box office of the movie? First of all, there is no anti-white male agenda from Brie Larson. That is a bunch of bullshit. It's total, absolute bullshit. Here's the thing. By the way, I don't know if you've known this. This might come to you as a surprise. I am a white male film critic. I didn't know if you knew that. I myself am a white male film critic. So I'd be very sensitive to anti-white male film critic criticism. Brie Larson has never said. Now, remember, other places put these words in her mouth. Brie Larson has never said she's anti-white male or hates white males. She's never said that. Here's what the truth is, okay? And again, there are places that don't want you to hear the truth because they think you can't tell the difference. As somebody who's been to 1,005 press junkets, press conferences, all that kind of stuff for the Hollywood industry, as somebody who's been to 1,000 of them, for Warner Brothers, for Universal, for Disney, for Paramount, for Lionsgate, for every studio under the sun, I have been to their press events. I can tell you right now, 95% or more are white penises. 95% or more of the people who attend these things, white penises. And of the people who are not in possession of white penises, such as my own, a good chunk of them are just white women. Some women get invited to these things, but not a lot. So I can tell you firsthand, unlike a lot of these other people who have never been to a press junket in their life, I can tell you firsthand that when Brie Larson raises a criticism that, hey, we're not opening the doors for people, for anybody other than white men to come to these things, she's not wrong. And you can argue that all you want. I'm sorry, I've been there. I've been to these press junkets and these press conferences. And it don't matter if it's Warner Brothers, Disney, Paramount, Universal, Fox, you name it, they've all done it. They've all done it. So here's what happens. Brie Larson basically says that we need to open this up more. We need to stop this agenda of excluding other people and start opening the doors more to have a little bit more representation here. So it's not just all strictly white men. Now, here's what happens. There are men out there who are really just fragile little cupcakes. And they have no self-esteem and no self-confidence whatsoever. And the notion that not everything gets to be mine? And they crumble and they fall to pieces and they just can't deal with it, right? So here comes Brie Larson, who all she said, when you read her comments in context, because remember, I'm a white male film critic. So if she's talking about anybody, she's talking about me. And you don't want to be spitting fighting words against me. So, because I don't respond well. So, but when you read all of her comments in context, all she is saying is, we need to stop the practice of excluding other people from coming to these things. And we have to start inviting some Asian women who aren't just covering for their Taiwanese news station. We need to start inviting black women to be to these things as well. And here's the problem. Fragile cupcake, they're not even beta males, they're delta males. Fragile cupcake delta males are so terrified of that. They're so insecure of that. They're so frightened of it. They're so insecure that they want you to believe that saying, hey, it shouldn't just all be Group A. It should be Group A and Group B. It shouldn't just be exclusively Group A. We need to make a little bit of room so some people from Group B can be in there too. And what happens is, what the deltas want you to think is, that means we hate Group A. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. And I've never understood this capacity to go, anybody who suggests a both and is immediately shot down as being an either or. Do you know what I mean by that? When somebody suggests, hey, and by the way, Brie Larson never said, let's not invite white males. That's what the thing is hilarious. These people write, Brie Larson hates white men. No, she doesn't. All she has ever suggested is that you need to start making room and not have this agenda where you're excluding everybody else. Let's invite other people to the party too. Guess what? Me and my fellow white penis owners, we're still going to take up the majority of the room, guys. When you go into that room, we're going to be taking up the vast majority of that room still. But now we're going to have some other people there too. But the deltas don't want you to understand the difference. They want you to think, hey, let's invite some other people to this thing. Means, we hate you. We hate you, the guy who's here already. We hate you. They think you're so dumb that you can't tell the difference. That's what they want, because they need the hate clicks. Because hate gets a lot of clicks, and they want the hate clicks. And guess what? Nobody would be more pissed off about attacking white male film critics as a white male film critic than me. Nobody would be more pissed off about that than me. But the fact of the matter is, I'm a common sense human being, much like 99.9% of you are common sense human beings who sat down and looked at the whole context and went, oh, so all she's really saying is that she thinks we need to open it up and stop excluding a bunch of people groups and let them be a part of it too. Yeah. Oh, okay. So then what's the problem? There is no problem. But there are deltas out there who are so terrified of that and so insecure about that and so threatened by that. They're threatened that they have to start making up all this stuff and start writing headlines. Did you know that Brie Larson said she hates all white men? What? She did? Yeah. Just watch my video about how she said she hates all white men. But wait a minute. She gave like a 5-minute discourse and you're only quoting 6 words. What was the rest of it? Never mind what the rest of it says. Just look at these 6 words. She hates you. She hates white men. And they want to believe you're dumb enough to buy into that. But it's not. It's not. Now, look, by the way, I don't know how good. Some people are saying Captain Marvel is going to open to 160 million. I think it's going to open to about 90. Some people think it's going to open lower to that. Whatever. And by the way, the movie's either going to be good or bad. I have no idea if Captain Marvel's any good. I have not seen it yet. I have not been blown away by the... You guys have seen me talk about the trailers. I have not been blown away by any of the trailers that we have gotten so far. But I'm going to go in and judge the movie based on the movie, not on what, some really threatened, insecure people are crying about the movie, outside of it. But, don't buy into it. Don't buy into it. Don't buy into the lie. Have some critical thinking. Actually look at the entire content. And look, if you're somebody who thinks that suggesting we be a little bit more inclusive and let some other people in the room too, if you're somebody who thinks that that means throwing the rest of us out, then I don't know how to help you. If you think, let's make sure we get a couple of black female film journalists and pundits to be allowed to be at these things, to cover these things too, to cover it from that perspective, along with all of us white penis owners. Let them in the room with us too. If you're the type of person that thinks inviting them in means the death of us and means the exclusion of us, then you made up your mind before you even watched this video. And I just don't know how to help you. I just don't know how to help you. So anyway, that's, will it affect the overall box office? Of course there will be an effect. Significant effect? I don't think so. An effect? Yeah. Because as long as even just one person says, I'm not going to go see this movie because Brie Larson refuses to acknowledge the superiority of the white race, then that's an effect. That is an effect. There will be an effect. A significant effect? I doubt it. Remember, I've been predicting all along, I think this movie's going to open to 90 million. I think it will. And it's going to make money. It's going to be profitable and all that kind of stuff. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. All I know is that Ant-Man came out, made $600 million, and nothing had an effect on that. So I expect Captain Marvel to come in around the same, maybe a little bit north of that. And there are going to be some people say it would have made $1 billion. I don't think so. I mean, Doctor Strange only made $600-700 million in its opening film. Ant-Man only made $600-700 million in its opening film without being introduced in another film. I don't expect any different for Captain Marvel either. All right, let's move on here. All right, next up is Gotta Love Them Movies writes, just moderated my first discussion panel amongst filmmakers. That's cool, man. During a film festival 2 nights ago. No question here, but much respect to you guys. When you do that sort of thing, I want it as easy as I'm guessing you're trying to say it wasn't. It wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. Yeah, moderating panels is not the easiest thing, actually. At least it's not easy to do well. And I've been lucky enough for 3 different studios to moderate panels. The last one I actually did, I haven't done any of that stuff in a while. The last one I did was actually for Disney. It was for Age of Ultron. I moderated the press conference for Age of Ultron with all the cast of the movie and all that kind of stuff too. And I even had Robert Downey Jr. yell at me because I didn't ask him the first question. I asked the first question to Colby Smulders. I asked her the first question. And then I think the 3rd or 4th question was to Robert Downey Jr. And the first thing he says to me is, like during the press conference, is, the next time you don't ask me the first question, I'm walking out of here. Of course, he was just joking, but that was really fun. But it's a lot of fun to do those things. So yeah, I mean, I got to do one for Lionsgate. I got to do one for Universal once. I mean, it's always fun. And I've got to do it for a couple times for like some smaller indie films too. And like some horror films and things like that. It's always fun. I did it for Dread. I moderated the Q&A for Dread, which was a lot of fun. Yeah, I got to do it for a bunch of different studios and a bunch of different people, and it's always cool. But you're right. It looks easy to do, but to do it well is kind of tricky. But I'm glad you had the opportunity to do that, man, because it's a really good experience. All right. Cinema Reviews writes, where do nominees for live action short and short documentary even play? That's a $1 million question, man. At least animated shorts play in front of kids' movies sometimes. How can I give... I don't know what you're saying. I'm guessing you're trying to say, how can I give them a chance? How can I give them a shot? How can I give them a watch? I honestly don't know. Like sometimes there are local theaters that'll be like, hey, we're showing all the live action nominees shorts, right? But I don't even know if AMC Cinemas, like AMC Cinema every year does their Best Picture Showcase, where over the course of 2 days, they play all the Best Picture nominees. I don't think they include short documentary, short animation, short live action. I don't think they include it. So that's always a big question, Cinema. I'm stumped on that one. I honestly don't know what the answer to that one is. But hopefully you get a chance to watch, which is one of the reasons why I'm cool with things like short live action, short documentary, things like that, not being a part of the Oscar broadcast, because it's not something the people at home care about, because it's not even stuff they could have even possibly have seen. Even if they wanted to have seen them, they probably haven't had a chance to see them. So, but it is a conundrum, man. It is a conundrum for sure. All right, next one. Roke Toto writes, Endgame post-credit scene. Tony walks in on Captain America eating eggs with ketchup. Boom! Civil War 2. That would do it for me. You know what? Some of the best memes online, I remember was going into Civil War, because there was that trailer where Cap and Tony have that awkward face-off, right? And people did tons of these memes about so-and-so is like Mac's better, and then Captain America, Apple's better, or PC's better, and then the title, Civil War, right? There were tons of those memes that came out there, but that would certainly cause one of them, Roke. Eggs on ketchup will cause one of them. That'll be the John Campea, Robert Meyer Burnett one. Although I don't know that he eats ketchup on his eggs. Maybe it'll be the hashtag Han had it Cummings thing. You can have a picture of me, Han had it coming. Picture of Rob, Justice for Han, bottom frame, Civil War. That could be it. All right, Cinema Reviews writes, a crap when I don't know where to see them. Oh, I think so. What you're saying was, how can I give a crap when I don't know or how to see that? That's the problem. And I think the Academy needs to come up with something there. They need to come up with some kind of solution or an option that, how can we get... Why are we even showing these things in the broadcast when nobody has seen any of these films and we don't even try to provide a good way for people to see them? My proposal a couple years ago was that the Oscars should put all of the short films online. Just go to Oscars.com. Don't do this right now because they didn't do it, but I'm just suggesting go to Oscars.com and host on Oscars.com all the nominees for Best Short Documentary, all the nominees for short animation, and all the nominees for short live action, so people can see them and get a favorite, so that when you're broadcasting them on the Academy Awards, people have something to root for. It's an easy thing to do, and it's not like, well, if you put them online for free, you're taking away their ability to make money. What money? These movies aren't making any money. So just put them online. Get people have a chance to see them, for heaven's sakes. All right. Mark Hansen writes, highly recommend Umbrella Academy. It's batshit crazy in a good way. Like the X-Men had a 3-way with Doom Patrol and Doctor Who. Wasn't planning to, but binged the whole thing at once. I'll tell you what, Robert Meyer Burnett, Mark, did the exact same thing. He told me, this weekend, I decided to watch the first episode of the Umbrella Academy, and I ended up wasting the whole weekend watching the whole thing. So actually, it's funny, today, Anne came home from work, and she and I chatted, and it was like, maybe we should be setting aside some time to watch this Umbrella Academy, because everybody's talking about it. So, guys, like you, Mark, and others have talked about it enough. I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to jump it up to the top of my list. I still haven't watched Punisher Season 2. That's how far behind I am on everything. But I'm going to bump Umbrella Academy up to the top of my list. It is the next thing I'm going to start binging. So I'll watch that, and I'll let you guys know what I think about it. But you're just another guy, Mark, telling me how great it is, so I got to give this thing a shot. Thanks for bringing it up, man. All right. Next, Brian Rogers writes, given your love for Alan Rickman as villains, I recommend Help, I'm a Fish. It's a fish out of water type, no pun. Given the premise, he's menacing. It's animated. Well, I mean, I don't know if I would ever count one of somebody's best performances as an animated thing. What was it called? Help, I'm a Fish. Let me see this. I've never even heard of this. I have never even heard of this. Help, I'm a Fish. I can't even find an IMDb page for it. There's a fishtail. Oh, was it also called A Fishtail? Help, I'm a Fish. What the poster says, Help, I'm a Fish, but the name of it officially on IMDb is A Fishtail. So it's got the voices of Nisbank Mikkelsen, Morten Kern Nielsen, Sebastian Jensen. Where's Alan Rickman? Maybe this is the wrong movie. Because I'm not seeing Alan Rickman. I don't even see him on there. Oh, well, it's not one I've ever heard of, but thank you for putting it on my radar, Brian. Aiden Foley writes, hey, John, I've been watching for a year and a half now. Thank you so much, man. Love you and your show. I appreciate that. Thank you, and keep bringing that damn filthiness. Well, thank you so much, Aiden. First of all, thank you for watching the show at all. Thank you for supporting the show. Thank you for sending in such a nice comment. And thanks for being around for a year and a half now, man. I guess that's right around when I started, doing my own YouTube channel again. And things have been going great. And it's been going great because we got people like you, Aiden, watching the videos, participating, sending in nice thoughts and everything like that, and supporting the show. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it, man. All right. Jacob Waldrop writes, what did you think about Happy Death Day to you? Still haven't seen it. Still haven't seen it. I had a choice the other day to either see Happy Death Day to You or Alita Battle Angel. I wanted to see Happy Death Day to You, but so many of you guys are telling me to go see Alita Battle Angel. I went out and watched Alita Battle Angel, and I liked it. I liked Alita Battle Angel. But I still haven't had a chance to go see Happy Death Day to You. So hopefully I'm going to correct that next little while. But I got a bunch of people telling me that they thought it was even better than the first one. And I love the first one. So I'm excited about it. I'm going to see it soon. All right. Orange Hand writes, Margot Robbie once said she has friends who are much better looking than her. She's either the most humble person or I gotta see these friends. Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'm trying to remember the name of the movie. I was just at a premiere it was a couple months ago. I was at a premiere of a Margot Robbie movie that she was in with Michael Myers, and I think Sean Pegg was in it as well. That's what it was called. It was called Terminal. So, yes, it was Simon Pegg, Margot Robbie, Mike Myers, Max Iron, Les Loveday, a bunch of people, but it was Margot Robbie's film. And let me see if I can pull up a poster of it here. Hold on a second. And you guys might not remember the name, but you might remember the poster if I bring up the poster. There it is. So and right there is Mike Myers. Right there is Simon Pegg. And then you have the other cast characters down here, and it's Margot Robbie in the middle. So I got a chance to go and see this Margot Robbie movie. And it was all right. It wasn't great, but it was all right. It was all right. But at the after party, like Margot Robbie is there and just stunning. Stunning. Like sometimes you see these Hollywood actresses that are so good looking, like you think that can't be real. But like you think to yourself, in person, she wouldn't look that good. All I remember is me and Ann standing there at the bar as Margot Robbie came up to the bar. And like even Ann was just like you almost wanted to reach out and poke her to see if she was like a hologram. She is that good looking. And I will completely concur with you, sir, saying that she has a bunch of friends who are way better looking than her. I'm just thinking, please bring them out to introduce to everybody, because I would love to see, because my God, man, woman, or child, she is one of the most beautiful creatures on the face of the earth, male or female. I mean, she's just incredibly gorgeous. And on top of all that, to make the universe unfair, she's stupid talented. Stupid talented. Anyway, you and me both, Orange Hand. You and me both. All right. John De Benedict writes, hey guys, well, it's official. News just broke that Punisher and Jessica Jones are canceled. I don't think anybody will be surprised, but that's that. Yep. Again, no surprise. Like I mentioned earlier in the show, John, though, the only two minor surprises. One, that they waited this long to announce Punisher, and two, that they would announce Jessica Jones before season 3 even came out. That was a little surprising, but we all knew it was coming, right? Like, we all knew Punisher's going to be the next to be canceled, then Jessica Jones, or at the same time, and it's too bad. Like, again, I loved Punisher season 1. Loved it, but I can't speak to Punisher season 2 because I haven't seen it. I was never thrilled with Jessica Jones, either season 1 or season 2, to be honest with you. I never thought they were that good. I thought, great idea, but it didn't, to me, it wasn't executed. But whatever, a lot of people love them, and that's great. But yeah, you're right, John. Not much surprise. Not much surprise. All right, Alvin Elmore writes, one way to bring the Avengers back without the use of time travel would be to introduce the one above all. He could literally resurrect them. But there are some things, see, here's what I keep going back to, Elvin. There are some things that you can do in the comics that you can't do in a live action movie, and you're just going to alienate people if you do. That's why I believe, like, even in Days of Future Past, it's a heavy, heavy adaptation. The X-Men Days of Future Past movie is incredibly unlike the comic book. Like, incredibly. It's adapted to work better for the screen. And I just don't know if that's a device that would resonate with a lot of people, or if it'd just be too nerdy. Like, just maybe too nerdy for the average moviegoing like my mom. And one of the great things about the MCU at this point is that they've done the really nerdy things, but done it in such a way that it doesn't alienate the average filmgoer who has no history of comics or doesn't follow those types of stories or whatever. And they found a way to make it work for everybody. And I don't know if that's really an approach they can take to make it work. And maybe I'm dead wrong. Maybe I'm dead wrong. But yeah, that's just my initial kind of thought on that. But good thought, though. You're thinking outside the box, and I like that. All right, Mike Noir writes, John, people with agendas are taking anything Larson says, twisting and butchering it hard to cause actual hate. There was already a lame smear campaign against her. Now they've taken to slander. They've taken the slander to a nauseating level. I know, Mike. I know. I talked about it a little bit earlier. I'm not going to go into the whole thing again. But here's the thing, people. If you read a headline that says, Brie Larson hates white people, or anything like that, actually go and read, not the one sentence that they're picking out for you to see, but go read the whole thing. And I think the vast majority of you are going to walk away with a very different opinion. But you're right, Mike. It is what people are doing. It's what insecurity will do. Insecurity will make people act a certain way. All right. Ike E writes, was Logan Fox's way of saying goodbye to the X-Men? No, because I guarantee you the people even making the film had no idea what was going on. None. And it was really all sparked by an idea Hugh Jackman had. The idea for Logan was an idea Hugh Jackman had. And, he got in touch with the director, who he had worked with before already, and they formulated this idea. They thought, yeah, give this thing a shot, blah, blah, blah. But remember, Logan was a movie that was in development in 2015. The first development of Logan went into early development in early 2015, or mid to late 2015. It was long before there was any Disney Marvel deal for them to say goodbye to the X-Men. There were no plans. When Logan was being developed, there was no plans of saying goodbye to the X-Men at any time soon. If it was, we wouldn't be having New Mutants coming out. If it was, we wouldn't be having X-Men Dark Phoenix coming out, right? So, no, I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's... But, man, what a goodbye love letter it would have been. Because, man, Logan was so damn good. All right, Stubble McShave writes, with that question mark, it seems like Rob is the Riddler. Okay, so earlier... We had Rob, when we were doing the show, Rob actually cut out for a minute, but then he was able to come back in. And when the program I use to do these shows loses a source, it just has a gray screen with a question mark saying like, hey, what the hell? Where's the source? Rob had accidentally disconnected himself from the show, but fortunately he was able to reconnect himself. And yes, it's like Rob is now the Riddler creating questions for us to find him. Imperfect Comic writes, Hey, John, have you heard any news about the Gears of War movie? None. I know Dave Bautista's wanting to play Marcus Phoenix. Will this ever get made, do you think? I don't know. Look, it took a heavy, heavy hit. I know there's been a number of times, like I believe even Tom Hardy. I think Tom Hardy at one point was connected to being a Gears of War movie, unless I'm thinking of a different one, but I think he was at one point. At any rate, the problem is that a couple of video game movies have come out and not done great. World of Warcraft came, was not the movie we were I still enjoyed World of Warcraft, but it was not the movie we were hoping it would be. Assassin's Creed came out. Bloody mess of a movie. Horrible, horrible movie. And then we had Tomb Raider come out, which I actually thought was pretty good. Maybe one of the best, if not the best comic book movie ever made. And that's not saying much, I understand. But maybe the best comic book movie ever made. But it did not do well at the box office. I don't think it flopped, but it didn't do well. So I think the entire industry probably saw this ongoing thing that even with some bigger movies and some more recognizable IP like World of Warcraft, Assassin's Creed, Tomb Raider, these are three giant franchises. These are three giant IPs. And when studios who are sitting on projects like sitting on projects like Gears of War, sitting on projects like Uncharted, sitting on projects like The Last of Us, they look at that and go, wow, really huge popular IP with some big stars. And even in the case of Tomb Raider, a movie that wasn't bad, was actually pretty good, and they still couldn't make money. And that, I think, has slammed the brakes on a lot of these potential video game movie projects. And it's unfortunate, and it's sad, but I think that has had a big effect on it. So as of right now, I don't know that anything is happening on the Gears of War movie, but let's keep our fingers crossed and keep our eyes open and see what happens. All right. Roman Bryant writes, better villain, Scar or Killmonger? Oh, Scar. By far, Scar. Killmonger was a great villain. I loved the Killmonger villain. Loved him a lot. But Scar is a villain we still talk about 20 years later. Right? We still talk about Scar. We still quote all of Scar's lines. Killmonger is one of the best villains the MCU has ever had. Because the MCU has not had a great track record of villains. Let's be honest. They haven't. They're changing that. Like, aside from Loki, I mean, we've had now Thor. We got Killmonger. There have been one or two others too. They're changing that. But Killmonger is one of the best villains the MCU's ever had. But it's Scar, the villain of the greatest animated movie of all time, in my opinion, at any rate. Yeah, Scar's the one who takes that trophy. All right. Alan Gonzalez writes, renting movies on YouTube is awesome. Yeah, I mean, basically, it's the Google Play Store. Because, like, I buy all my movies on the Google Play Store, which means they're all available to me on YouTube. I can go to YouTube and go to my purchases, and it's like all my movies are there, and I can just watch the movies on YouTube. And yes, you can also, a lot of people don't realize this, Alan, and I'm glad you bring this up. You can actually use YouTube to just rent your movies. And it is a great experience, particularly if you have the YouTube app on your Roku, Apple TV, whatever, and you can watch it on your TV. Then it's particularly great. Anyway, the new Ulysses Smith III writes, people, please go tell people to see Alita. Well, I liked Alita. I did. It has its problems, though. It is far from a perfect movie, but it's got great action, great visual effects, and most importantly, a hero that you get emotionally attached to right away. To me, that was the tipping point. Some brutal dialogue, ludicrous love story, and an atrocious ending. But you had great visuals and fantastic action. So it's kind of balanced. To me, the tipping point was you had a hero you could get emotionally invested in right away. I thought the Alita character was great, and I liked her immediately. I mean, this isn't spoiling anything, okay? So this doesn't give any plot away. But the moment she's sitting down just eating an orange for the first time, I'm like, I find this character so charming. I'm so taken with this character. And when you can get an audience invested in your hero, you've just won half the battle. And to me, that was the tipping point. But it's not a movie that's going to be for everybody. And not even in our own chat boards, you can tell not everybody loves it. But if you think the movie looks good and you're wondering if you should see it, I would say go. Yeah, if you think the trailers have looked good, but you're just still not sure whether you should go give it a shot. Because I think it's going to deliver the things you hope it'll deliver. Just adjust your expectations. It's not the greatest movie of the year by any stretch of the imagination, but it's fun. I think it's fun. Hopefully you'll feel the same. All right. Mike Farino writes, John, just saw yesterday that my local AMC theater is adding a Dolby theater. Nice. How big of a difference is it from standard IMAX theater? I personally think the Dolby cinemas are superior to IMAX. Now, they are different things. A Dolby theater is different from an IMAX theater. They do things differently. They project their picture differently. They're different things. I prefer the Dolby because the Dolby, what it is this dual laser projection system. Not just a single, not a bulb and not a single laser. It's a dual laser projection system that gives you absolutely the deepest blacks, the brightest whites, the richest colors, the sharpest image. To me, it's just a superior viewing experience. Now, do not get me wrong. I like a good IMAX viewing. But if I had a choice that I get to see, like if I'm going to see Avengers Endgame and I got a choice, you can go in here and watch it in IMAX or you can go in here and watch it in a Dolby dual laser system. A lot of people go in IMAX. I'm going into the Dolby cinema. So that's to me. So, and you'll see what I mean, Mike, when you go watch a movie in there for the first time. It's really a great experience watching it on something like that. All right. Next up, Terrence Saxton writes, 2 of 2. Really? What was the other one, Terrence? I can't see what your other one was. Maybe it was like from much earlier. Okay. Terrence Saxon writes, 2-2. With all these people staying home watching streaming services, wouldn't studios start charging more for streaming services to use their content? Not really. Like, they already make like a fair licensing agreement, like just like in all throughout history. A movie's played in theaters, then they license it out to networks or whatever so people can watch it on their television station, on HBO, on whatever. The thing is, you can't really increase, it's supply and demand, right? Because while you can say, well, more people are at home watching streaming, sure, but now more and more content is being put on streaming. So there's as Thanos would say, there's a balance. There's a balance to it. So I don't know if it would make that much of a difference, to be honest, Terrence. Now, granted, the world of business in streaming is not something I'm nearly as well acquainted with. So just full disclosure there. But it seems to me that there would be a balance. Like while, yes, there is an increase in demand for content, there's also a big increase in content. So I feel like it would just balance itself out. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Share some links in the comment section if you know anything that points to some good information about that. All right. Brandon M. writes, aren't Kong/Godzilla and Fast and Furious all owned by Universal? Does it really matter who wins? Okay, so I think what you're talking about is the other day we talked about a story about how Fast and Furious 9 has just moved its release date. Not by much, just a little bit. But now it's opening on the same day as Godzilla vs. Kong. So we did a little story and we asked the audience, hey, who's going to win that weekend? Do you think more people are going to run out and see Fast and Furious? Or are more people going to run out and see Godzilla vs. Kong? I think it's going to be Fast and Furious because if you look at the history of the box office of the last two Fast and Furious movies, they both grossed more at the box office than the last two Kong and Godzilla movies. So I think that. Other people think other things. Totally cool. So you're asking, well, why does it matter who wins? Aren't they both owned by Universal? No. Kong Godzilla is a Warner Brothers film. The Godzilla film and Kong films, they're Warner Brothers films. And because remember, Universal wouldn't put two high-profile movies that they own both of them to open on the same day. That would be ridiculous. That would be totally preposterous of them to do. Why would a studio put two big movies on the same day and open them on the same day? It would make no sense. No, Godzilla Kong is a Warner Brothers release. Fast and Furious is a Universal release. So there, I hope that clears that up. All right. Not Dev in OK writes, do you think Shuri or M'Baku will lead Wakanda? I don't know. Maybe For all I know, T'Challa's mom becomes queen. What makes most sense to me is M'Baku, because Shuri's not a leader. Also, M'Baku has a legitimate claim to the throne. He is the head of his tribe. And, I mean, he came this close to beating T'Challa in the ritualistic combat. Shuri can't go into combat against M'Baku. And M'Baku had, he's accepted her, but he also had a lot of criticisms of Shuri early on. It makes sense. It would make more sense for M'Baku to be the new king of Wakanda. That is what makes the most sense. What they'll actually do, who knows? But you know what? I think I have to go back and watch the trailer again. But wasn't Shuri's face also on the missing list? Maybe Shuri's gone. I cannot, you know what? I shouldn't do this right now, but I'm going to do this right now. I'm going to take a second and actually open a Avengers Endgame trailer. And I'm just going to take a quick peek, because right now I cannot remember who's on that missing persons list. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so there's Scott Lang. There's Spider-Man. I thought I saw one with Shuri. Let me play this again. Okay. Yep, Shuri. Yep, right at the beginning. So you can't see it right now, but I'm looking at it. We got Bruce is looking at these holograms of people missing. Got Scott Lang missing, and in the back, Shuri is also listed among the missing. And then the Shuri picture morphs into the Tom Holland picture as Peter Parker missing. So either Shuri disappeared and left Wakanda after the dusting and her brother died, or she dusted. And we just didn't see it. We know M'Baku didn't dust, so I'm going to go into Endgame expecting that it's M'Baku. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. We'll find out soon. Okay, Mike Noir writes, just saw Alita yesterday. If it underperforms, does that mean Disney would acquire more debt and any other upcoming Fox films? Well, remember, the money's already spent. The money's been spent already done. They spent this movie when they made it and when they marketed it. The money's been spent. It's not like if the movie does bad, Disney now has to pay out more money, or Fox has to pay out more money. The money's been spent. So no, they wouldn't. I do not believe they would be acquiring more debt. I don't think they'd be acquiring more debt. I could be wrong about that. I don't know the ins and outs of the contract, but my best guess at this point, and I could be wrong, is that, the money's already spent. So no, there's no more debt to be accumulated here. Anthony911 writes, my concern is that the MCU can get as toxic as the Star Wars franchise fan base. It sees happening with Captain Marvel. Agree? Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm just telling you, fragile deltas know no boundaries. They will attack anything that doesn't conform to their worldview. They will go after and assault and attack anything that doesn't conform to its worldview. Doesn't matter if it's Star Wars, doesn't matter if it's the MCU, doesn't matter if it's the DCEU, doesn't matter if it's a bus full of puppies. It just doesn't matter. So yeah, you're damn right. It can happen to the MCU too. Something that a few years ago you would have thought of, but then again, a few years ago we would have thought it impossible with Star Wars too. Would have thought it impossible with Star Wars too. But yeah, and you're right. We're seeing the beginnings of that. Now, we'll see if that flowers into some big, giant, toxic plant or not. But yeah, the MCU is just as susceptible to anything else because threatened deltas will lash out and attack anything that does not conform to their worldview. The question becomes, does the rest of the fandom stand against that and say, look, this movie may suck or may be great, and that's fine, but don't bring that garbage in here? The way that Star Wars did not. Star Wars fans did not stand up to that. Star Wars fans just went, oh, okay, well, yeah, all right. They just let people walk in and just destroy everything. The question is, will the MCU fans do that? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, but we are seeing the start of it now. We are seeing the start of it. And who knows, the movie may suck, but even if it sucks, you got to keep the toxicity out. Say it sucks, But keep that other side. Again, when you start typing out a message, when things start getting done with the purpose of trying to hurt people and frighten them into agreeing with you, I mean, this is hyperbole, but it's digital terrorism. I mean, in a way. Even though I'm saying it's hyperbole, that's too extreme of words. That's not accurate. But the principle is there. When you decide, let's start to bully and threaten people and assault people into either stop speaking things that we don't agree with, or to start agree, then it's an unhealthy environment, and that's what you're going to get. Fingers crossed, though. Well, first of all, let's just hope that the movie's good. We should hope all movies are good. Let's hope this movie's good, and if it's not, then it's not. But let's just, judge it on that basis. Black Sabbath writes, can Mary Poppins Returns make more than Aquaman? Man, I was so sure. Okay, so what I always said was, Aquaman will make more opening weekend, and that Mary Poppins will have the longer legs and make more money in the long run, right? I was so sure of that. So sure enough, Aquaman has the bigger opening weekend, which I expected. The problem was, I thought Mary Poppins was going to be an awesome movie, and it's not. It's, I first came out of it really disappointed, but I went, but it's still good. I mean, I'm disappointed with it, and nowhere near as good as I thought it would be, and blah, but it's still good. But you know what? It's not. It's not good. It's not a dumpster fire of a movie. It's not a trash movie. Nothing like that. But it's really not good. And I was so convinced. That because the movie's going to be awesome, Aquaman will have the bigger opening weekend, and then underneath it, Mary Poppins will have the longer legs, and in the long run make more money. But I was not counting on Mary Poppins not being a good movie. And because I certainly didn't go see it again, and I certainly didn't recommend people go see it, and it's, at least not enthusiastically. So, yeah, there you go. And clearly it's well documented. I didn't think Aquaman was going to make $1 billion either. Hell, I didn't think Aquaman was going to make $800 million, let alone $1 billion. Let alone $1 billion. Like, I got some people tell me, John, you said Aquaman wasn't going to make $1 billion. I'll do you one better. I didn't even think it would make $800 million. I'll do you one better. I didn't even think it would make $800 billion. I thought tops $700 million. Tops $700 million. At best, $700 million. Probably closer to 500 or 600, but top 7. So yeah, when people say to me, you said it wouldn't make $1 billion, I'll go, it was worse than that. I said it wouldn't make $800 million. So there. Like, it's even worse. But yeah, there you go. The Mary Poppins thing was one that kind of bit me in the ass too, because I really thought that was going to be awesome. All right. Shane Bennis writes, I saw an article yesterday claiming that Will Smith was originally chosen to play Neo. True. In The Matrix. Dear God, no. I like Will Smith, but can you imagine The Matrix without Keanu Reeves? Yeah, I can. Somebody else could have played the role. Somebody else could have played the role. Would it have turned out as good? I don't know. It's hard to imagine it being anybody else other than Keanu Reeves, but the only reason it's hard for us to imagine it being anybody else other than Keanu Reeves is because our only point of reference is Keanu Reeves. It's hard to imagine anybody else other than Keanu Reeves because that's all we've had. Now, I'm not saying any actor at all could have walked in there and done a better job or as good as Keanu Reeves did. I'm not suggesting that. But I'm also cognitive of the fact that, hey, somebody else might have done a better job. Keanu did great, but somebody else might have done a better job. Somebody else might have been able to come in there and bring something a little bit extra, a little bit something different, and maybe that guy was Will Smith. Now, if you gave me a Eye of Agamotto and said, I can turn back time and change it so Will Smith takes over the role if I want to, will I do it? No. I'm very happy with the Neo we got from Keanu Reeves. Totally happy with that one. I don't want to risk it. But that's nuts. And we all talk about, hey, God, Hugh Jackman, greatest Wolverine. Yes. But maybe somebody else could have been even better. I'm not saying it's likely, But maybe we have to be open to that possibility, and maybe Will Smith. But again, if you gave me the chance that I could hit a button to change time and swap out Keanu Reeves with Will Smith, no, I wouldn't do that, because I like the Keanu Reeves Neo that we have very much. Thank you so much. So anyway, that's my thought on that. Okay, let's go on to the next one here. Gabriel Reed writes, Red Skull tells Cap that he seen the future and there is no flags. After the previous Endgame trailer, we see the world in peril and chaos. Could that be what he saw? No, I honestly, I think we're reading too much into that, Gabriel, to be honest with you. I think when he sees I've seen the future, I don't think Red Skull is specifically saying I have a power, that I have had a vision. I was teleported into the future and I saw these certain things that he then, gets described later on. I think he was simply seeing, in my strategy and in my planning and the way I see things going, from a very natural point of view, I've seen the future and it involves no flags. Like, he saw everything under Hydra. There's no flags, there's no different nations fighting against each other. Perfect order under perfect tyranny, right? That was kind of his vision. So I think anything beyond that is just reading too much into it. Like, it reminds me a lot, Gabriel, of the fact that, in Avengers Age of Ultron, Wanda touches Tony, or she puts her voodoo jinx on him, and he sees his greatest fear. So he sees this vision of all the Avengers dead and all that kind of stuff. Now, people are saying, oh, is that the vision that's going to happen now in Endgame? Is that what's going to come to pass? Remember, Tony wasn't seeing the future. He was just seeing a manifestation of his fear. Wanda doesn't have the power to show you the future. She just planted his deepest fear in him. Something that would freak him out. Something that plays on his deepest, darkest phobia, if it will. And that was what he feared, that his actions or inactions would be his fault, that everybody dies and it would be his fault. That's his fear. It wasn't a vision of the future. And I think in this situation, Gabriel, that's kind of what we're talking about here. We're talking about the Red Skull just saying, I've looked in the future through my planning and everything and the way I see things going, and this is what I foresee the world being. But it's not him telling the future per se. Know what I'm saying? Anyway, that's just kind of the way I interpret it. And maybe you see it differently, which is totally cool, but that's just kind of the way I saw it. All right, let's move on to the next question. This one comes to us from Kevin King, who writes, if Alita is successful with critics and fans, but it does not reach the $550 million breaking point, that's the break-even point, that somewhere between 500 and 550 million is how much Alita needs to make to break even. Do you think this will open up studios to more anime adaptations? No. The movie's got to be profitable. Movie's got to make money. That is simply what the studios are looking at. They're looking for success. If anything, if Alita Battle Angel is great, and it's got okay. I mean, last I checked, it was like 64%. Let me just double check this. Alita Battle Angel, Rotten Tomatoes. Last I checked, it was at 60-something%. Okay, it's gone down a little bit. It's at 60. So still, the majority of the critics like it. 6 out of 10 like it. 60% on Rotten Tomatoes. Okay. And, I've been seeing on my chat boards, mostly positive and some negative stuff. But that's really besides the point. If anything, if the movie's good and still doesn't make money, that becomes even more concerning for the studios. Because, if the movie loses money and it sucked and everybody hated it, well, then the studios can go, well, maybe if it's good, if we make a good one, it'll make money. If they look at this and say, hey, this movie was good and people liked it and it still lost money, I don't think that will open up studios at all. If anything, they'll now go, okay, that's 3 of these in a row that have all kind of failed. We're going to wait before trying anything. So, yeah, Kevin, unfortunately, I don't think the movie, for it to open up studios, they got to see it make money. They got to see it make money. Studios are not in the business of losing money, so they got to see it make money. And you know what? It's unlikely, but it's possible Alita can still break even. It's possible. So it's early yet. Let's hold out some hope there for it. Okay, let's move on here. Zuza Yu writes, why everyone are asking what if Captain Marvel will flop? Did you want that this movie flops? Why? Because Hero's a woman and not A man? Okay. Well, I mean, no, I think, look, it's fair to ask if you think a movie might flop, especially when you're talking about a cinematic universe like the MCU, which has just been this steamroller of success after success after success. And especially a movie heading into Avengers Endgame, right? Remember, this movie comes out before Endgame. It's perfectly fair to ask, well, what if? What are the ramifications if something like this flops? Now, are there some people out there hoping it flops because they have a political ideology? Sure, there are some people, but for the most part, I just think, like, it's not like Captain Marvel's the only movie and big movie coming out that people ask, well, what if this one flops? We got the same questions about Black Panther. We got the same questions about Avengers Infinity War. We got the same questions about Justice League. We got the same questions about, like, it's kind of happens. Like, what happens if Alita Battle Angel flops? And will they still do a sequel because they set up for a sequel? So just because people ask that question does not necessarily mean they have nefarious reasons for asking it. So it's a perfectly valid question to ask. So yeah, I mean, and again, Zuza, it'd be one thing if we've never seen people asking, what if this movie flops about any other movie? But we have. We see it happen all the time. So I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't worry about it. All right, next one. Taylor Haywood writes, chances of Harold and Kumar 4. I think pretty unlikely. And it's not even because of the normal reason, which is, how's the box office? Was it making continuous money, blah, blah, blah. But mostly because, like, John Cho and Kal Penn both seem to be off doing other things. Like, John Cho just had Searching this year with Deborah Messing, which was way better than anybody thought it was going to be. Kal Penn was just doing Designated Survivor and doing all that kind of stuff. So both of these guys are staying pretty busy. And I think on that basis, I think it's unlikely, but you never know. I mean, they're talking about doing, Wild Stallions. They're talking about doing Bill and Ted again after so many years. So, I mean, if that can happen, why not a Harold and Kumar? So it's possible. I just think right now it's unlikely, but don't say never because crazier things have happened. Patrick Conway writes, Sony just released a Spider-Ham short. I heard that they announced a Spider-Man short. Did they release a Spider-Man short, a Spider-Ham short? If so, I haven't seen it, but I'll have to keep an eye out for it because I know they announced one. Maybe that's what you meant, but if they released one, that's pretty cool. I haven't seen it yet myself, though. Pedro Augusto Marquez writes, John, you said you think it's time for Best Ensemble Oscar, but will it happen? They are cutting categories, but this could be a better alternative than popular movie, since movies like Avengers could win. Well, I mean, yeah, the nice thing, too, is a movie like Avengers could legitimately win if it was Best Ensemble, because, I mean, you can make an argument for a movie like, I mean, it may not have won, but you could make an argument for a movie like Avengers Infinity War for Best Ensemble. I mean, you had a massive ensemble on that, and they were all great. I mean, cutting categories, yeah, but again, I would much rather see a Best Ensemble category, which I think a lot more people would care about, and it's already a legitimate award because the SAGs award it, which is the Screen Actors Guild. I would much rather see that than the show having Best Short Documentary, Best Short Live Action, these sorts of things. There's about 3 or 4 categories you could remove or move to a different night, like with the technical awards, and add an ensemble. Like, I'm not saying you have to do it, but I think it would be a nice move. I think the Best Ensemble is the best potential new category you could add. It just makes sense. It's an acting category. Audiences are familiar with it. It's already got legitimacy because the Screen Actors Guild awards it. Yeah, I think it would be a good move. I think it would be a really good move. And again, I think a lot of genre projects could legitimately get nominations in a category like that. So I'd personally be all for it. All right, Pedro follows up with Ashley and Robert, ketchup and eggs. I believe Robert doesn't, but I think Ashley does. I'm not 100%, I know at least one of them does. I'm not sure which one. All right, Beast Gaming writes, what do you guys think of Charlie St. Cloud? Oh, that's with, I was going to say Ryan Gosling. It's not Ryan Gosling. It's Oh God, why am I suddenly? He's in the Ted Bundy movie right now. Charlie Shea Cloud, Zac Efron. Why was I free? It's late. So I froze on. Yeah, with Zac Efron. I dug Charlie St. Cloud. It wasn't great, but it was harmless enough. It was nice. Amanda Crew was in that with him. Donald Logue, I like him a lot. Kim Basinger, Ray Liotta, Dave Franco, Matt Ward. I mean, yeah, it was a nice little movie. Nothing super special or anything. That was a totally nice little film. Anne liked it a lot, actually. Nathan Lip writes, have you been watching season 3 of True Detective? No, I haven't. There's a bunch of things I haven't started watching yet, including not the least of which is Punisher season 2. I still haven't started on that. So no, I have not started. I don't think Robert has either, because he and I were talking about it a few weeks ago. I don't think he got caught up yet. But I'm a huge fan of Mahershala Ali, so I'd love to see it. And I thought season 2 was not great, but I think it was better than it got credit for. So I'm looking forward to seeing it, but no, I have not watched it yet. Marie Seifring writes, has Pinewood Studios in Atlanta become the new hub for movie making in the U.S., or is L.A. still safely on top, or are there newer overseas locations like London becoming a new center of filmmaking? All right, well, that's a good question, and because we do hear about a lot of filming in Atlanta, and there's a lot of stuff going on there. There's some big tax credits for any production that wants to shoot their stuff in Atlanta. So that's Marvel has been shooting a lot of their material in Atlanta for all those reasons. But make no mistake, Los Angeles is still the place where most of it all happens. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but I mean, that's what happens. That's why all the studios are here, all the production companies are here, on and on and on. Now, you've got a lot of places around the world, including in Canada. That's why a lot of production happens in Canada, and other places around the world and other cities across the U.S., where they try to attract in these film productions because it brings money into the local economy. And one of the ways they do that is by having their local government or their municipal government or their state government offer tax incentives to companies to come and shoot there. And that can, look, Alita Battle Angel, Fox is saying that even though the movie costs about $220 to make, they got like almost $50 million in tax breaks and tax incentives. And every state and whatever have its own tax program for film production. And that's why they said it brought Alita Battle Angel's production budget down to 170. Well, really it was 220, but you got a credit back. So whatever. It all depends on how you do the math. But still, yeah, the place is still Los Angeles. Still probably by a factor of 5 to 1. It's still Los Angeles. But yeah, a lot of high-profile stuff. We'll shoot Canada, we'll shoot Atlanta, we'll shoot all over the place. But Atlanta is one of the growing ones. You know, it is one of the growing ones. A lot of stuff happens there now because they have some really good programs. But, yep, Los Angeles is still the main hub. It's still the main hub and probably always will be. All right. Patrick Conway writes, Brendan Gleeson stars in The Guard and Calvary. I love Brendan Gleeson. I've loved him ever since he played Hamish in Braveheart. And, of course, he was just recently in Paddington 2. He was fabulous in that. He's fabulous. He's great in everything he's in. And yes, you recognize the last name because Brendan Gleeson is the father of Donald Gleeson, who, of course, is in the Star Wars films now as General Hux. As General Huck. General Huckleberry Finn. General Hux. That's his son. That's Brendan Gleeson's son. Brendan Gleeson is amazing, so that's another thing that would make me interested in seeing the film. Michael Morgan writes, Robert, your discussion on Mid-Edge was the best summary of what is wrong with Star Trek Discovery. Make John watch it. It won't matter. Star Trek Discovery is great, and that's my opinion. It's great, and I've got no dog in that fight. I'm not a major Star Trek. I really like Star Trek. I've watched Star Trek my whole life, but I'm not a major Star Trek fan like Robert is, not to that degree. But, I mean, I didn't care if this show was good or sucked. I'm just telling you, I watch it. I find it tremendously entertaining. And I think it's imaginative, and I think they do some really great things. And I know Robert doesn't like it, and he has a certain point of view, but I don't share his point of view. And that's the great thing about being fans of movies and television. We don't have to have the same point of view. I think the show's great. Rob thinks the show is trash. And just because he presents to me how he sees things. I'm just going to see it differently than him. And we're both okay with that, and it's perfectly fine. Let's see. Powder Conway writes, over under 40% Hulu picks up Daredevil for season 3 by 2020. I'm going to take the under on that. Again, this is all fan speculation on my part. No insider knowledge here, okay? Just pure fan speculation. But I really believe from what the things we've all read, it looks to me like Marvel has plans to use Daredevil in the MCU, I believe. And it's not going to be Charlie Cox. It's going to be a new incarnation of Daredevil. And if that's the case, then that kind of precludes them from just... And by the way, there could be legal issues, contractual issues that prevent Marvel from taking Netflix's incarnation of those characters and just carrying them on elsewhere. There may not be, but there very well could be. But that wouldn't preclude them from using the characters in new incarnations, right? A different version of Daredevil than the Charlie Cox one. And because I think, again, just as a fan guessing, because I think they're going to want to take the character into MCU territory a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the line, I think that makes it unlikely. But hey, we've seen stranger things happen. It's certainly not impossible. It would be pretty fun. I'd be down for a Daredevil. By the way, it would be Daredevil season 4. Daredevil's already had 3 seasons, so this would be season 4. I'd be totally down for Daredevil season 4. All right, Marie Seifring writes, next Bond film release date pushed back 2 months. Yeah, see, 2 months is one of those things where that's not strange or unusual. Because, like, it's not like the film is a disaster, they need to redo everything. That's when you add 6 months or move it by a year. We've seen a lot of that recently, right? Movies getting moved, extreme things. But if you move anywhere between, 2 or 3 weeks to 8, 9, or 10 weeks, that's not really a big deal. That just means that's just a slight adjustment. And it doesn't really, to me, I mean, there may be issues, but to me, it doesn't signal that there are any issues. To me, it just says, oh, we decided to nudge it over here. So not a big story, I don't think. To me, it's not a big story, unless there is a big story behind it that we just don't know about. Bennett Hardy writes, I'm 14 and people don't take my opinions seriously. Well, Bennett, I don't know what to tell you about that. I think that is a problem everybody that is younger has always faced since the beginning of time and will always face till the end of time. I'm not saying it's right nor fair, but that's just part of being 14, man, is that it's just a fact of the matter is you're going to have to deal with a number of people that because of your age won't take your opinion as seriously. Again, I'm not saying that's fair, but it has been the way of things since, the dawn of time and will probably always be the way of things. And don't worry, when you're 23, you're going to not take 14-year-olds as seriously either. And you got to remember at that time, then you got to remember, hey, wait a minute. I found this to be unfair when I was that age. I need to take this person more seriously. Just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind as you grow older. All right. Jack Reacher writes, I had a busy weekend with my fiance, Titanic, Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2, and Beauty and the Beast, the 1991 version. Bravo, sir. Bravo. That is a nice weekend. That is I like all those. Titanic's a good one to watch, especially with your fiance, your significant other. Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2. I prefer 1. 2 is still good, though. Mary Poppins, y'all. And Beauty and the Beast, one of the first ever animated film to actually be nominated for Best Picture. In all the history of animation, 1991's Beauty and the Beast was the first animated film to be nominated for Best Picture. So that's a nice one. I love that one. Probably my second favorite animated film of all time. Just behind Lion King. I think Beauty and the Beast gets up there. All right. Jake Waters writes, big fan from England. Thanks so much, Jake. If Disney keeps Deadpool in an alternate universe, could Marvel do one-shot films in said universe of characters like Iron Man, etc., like Warner Brothers / DC are doing with the Joker, different actor, etc.? Okay. In asking, could they do it? Could they do it? Well, yeah. It's Marvel. It's their characters. They can do whatever they want. There's nothing stopping them if that's what they wanted to do. So, in asking the question, could they do it? Absolutely, they could. They could. But is it smart? I don't think so. I don't think it's smart. I don't think you do a live action Iron Man when you have another different incarnation of live action Iron Man going on at the same time. I don't think you do one version of a live action Captain America while you have another live action version of Captain America going on at the same time. Now, you can make an argument, but John, that's what Warner Brothers is doing with their Joker. There's a little bit of a difference there, I think. I think there's a little bit of a difference there. The Joker right now, for all intents and purposes, there really isn't a Joker in the DCEU. He appeared in one film, very finite amount of time. He had very, very little screen time and wasn't received. I like Jared Leto's Joker. I personally thought Jared Leto's Joker was pretty good, but you know, you can't deny that he wasn't received well. It wasn't received nearly as well as they were kind of hoping it would, right? So I think there's a little bit of a difference between that. And so they're sitting on the super rich character Joker, not really utilizing him in the DCEU. Try doing an Elseworld kind of movie with him. That's one thing. To do it with characters like Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Ant-Man, or Doctor Strange, when you got these things already going, I don't think it's something Bob Iger, while he can do it, I don't think it's something Bob Iger would ever approve. Bob Iger only seems to be going, okay, make some movies not under the Marvel banner, but that's strictly because of R-rated material, like for Deadpool and stuff like that. So can they do it? Yep, it's totally their option. But will they? I highly doubt it. But again, there have been many things we all highly doubted, and then it happened. So anything's possible, but I wouldn't put any money on it at this point. I wouldn't put any money on it at this point. All right, let's move on here to Lincoln Robinson. And Lincoln Robinson writes, it's quote-unquote official, Rob. The reason why Hobbs said F you to Shaw while hanging on the side of a building was because he too hates Shaw for killing Han. Finally, justice. Well, I don't think that's why. I mean, Hobbs and Shaw hate each other. That's kind of that's the odd couple angle of the whole Hobbs and Shaw movie, right? They hate each other. That goes right back into the Fast and the Furious movies. Those two hate each other, and they're being forced to work together. But I don't think it's because he killed Han. I mean, it doesn't help. I'm sure that doesn't help, but I don't think it's because, I think it's because, you know, he's a criminal and, you know, almost blew him up when they first confronted each other. So I think that has more to do with that, but that's just me. All right. Jack Reacher writes, having fun this weekend too. How to Train Your Dragon 3 and Mission Impossible 3. Mission Impossible 3 is good. I like Mission Impossible 3. How to Train Your Dragon 3 is awesome. I was so impressed by it. Again, now, I like How to Train Your Dragon 1 and 2 a little bit better, but don't take that as any sort of criticism. How to Train Your Dragon 3 is wonderful. And I said this earlier, I'll say it again. The last 15 minutes of How to Train Your Dragon 3 are actually the best 15 minutes out of all the How to Train Your Dragon series. Seriously, it's magical. The last 15 minutes is great. Enjoy your weekend, Jack. I think you're going to have a good time. Cornflakes writes, do you think Marvel will bring in X-Men first or Fantastic Four? I have no knowledge on this, so purely speculating. There's a need to bring in X-Men first, I believe. But I think they're going to do Fantastic Four first. The reason I suggest that I think there is a need to do X-Men first is because you've got a grander thing. You could bring Fantastic Four in any time. It doesn't matter. They're just 4 people, went into space, got powers, came back. With the X-Men, you are talking about, for all intents and purposes, you are talking about a race of human beings living in the world that are supposed to have a long history. Mutation and mankind is supposed to have this long history. It's integrated into the fabric of the earth. You've got tens, if not hundreds of thousands of mutants that are supposed to live around the world. All this kind of stuff. It's a much bigger job with the X-Men. And so I would kind of propose that it be important to start with the X-Men and get that foundation laid, because Fantastic Four you can do anytime. As far as origins go, there's really nothing special about it. They're just 4 people went into space, got their powers, came back. You don't need to set that up. You don't need to do anything special with that. You just got to bring them in and say, oh, here are the Fantastic Four. Can't do that with X-Men. So, but I do think they're going to do Fantastic Four first. I do. Nothing to base that on. Hopefully I'm wrong, but you're asking me to give a thought. Okay, that's my thought. I think they're going to do Fantastic Four first, even though I would go X-Men first. All right. Zachary Buckler writes, when are we getting the peanut butter, and mayonnaise sandwich, John? Tell you what, I will do it on tomorrow's show. This is being recorded on Tuesday night, so on Wednesday's show, I will do the peanut butter, and mayonnaise thing. I will bring it on the set, and it's been like 25 years since I've had one, but I'm going to do it tomorrow. For some reason, I liked it when I was a teenager. Never mind, I still don't get likes rights. Over under 70% Ryan Reynolds stays Deadpool. Whoo, that's a good line. 70% is a good line because that's high. You know, look, on the one hand, it just makes sense. If you're going to keep doing R-rated Deadpool, it just makes sense to bring in Ryan Reynolds. However, over at Fox, Ryan Reynolds had certain creative control over the character that he's not likely to enjoy as much under a Bob Iger and Alan Horn at Disney. Now, notice I didn't say Kevin Feige because I don't know that Kevin Feige will be involved with it. Bob Iger said R-rated Deadpool will be not under the Marvel banner. So does that mean Feige's not involved? Maybe. I don't know. We'll have to see. But I don't know that Ryan Reynolds would be offered the same type of creative freedom and control that he had at Fox as he will under Disney. Still, I think it's likely, but 70% is high. I'll tell you what, I think it is likely that Ryan Reynolds still stays Deadpool, but 70, I'm going to take the under on 70. That's just a really, really high number. I still think it's likely that it happens, but 70 seems a number a little bit high, so I'm going to go take the under on that. Ben Rayner writes, is The Gifted in danger on Fox? Well, forget the Fox and Disney merger for a second. I think The Gifted is on the bubble anyway because it doesn't have super high ratings. It is super high, no pun intended. Gifted doesn't have massively high ratings. They're marginal. They're borderline. They're bubble. So even if the Disney Fox thing wasn't happening, I don't know that I would be willing to say that The Gifted is safe anyway. It may not be safe. So we'll just have to wait and see. All right, and I like that show. I like it a lot. I'm not caught up. I'm about 3 or 4 episodes behind right now. Jake C. writes, they've been trying to get the Batman made for so long that at this point I'll take Emma Stone in the role if that's what it takes to start shooting. Yeah, I mean, look, now we have a release date, 2021, is when the movie's supposed to come out. That'll be, what did I say, 4 years after they announced that Matt Reeves would be directing it? I'll believe it when I see it at this point. Look, I've said from the beginning, I wanted Ben Affleck to do Batman, but if it can't be him for whatever reason, Matt Reeves is a great pick. I'm excited to see what Matt Reeves does with this character. He's a super talented filmmaker. I just want him to make this movie a priority, which it clearly hasn't been, but I want him to make this movie a priority. And if it does go into production on time, and if it can make that release date, and by the way, I think they've casted it already. I've said that before. I believe they've already casted Batman. I think it's been done a long time. Nobody told me that. No insider. I'm not saying that's a fact. I'm just saying my own speculation is I believe they've already had this guy cast for a little while, and we'll see how that turns out. All right, Aviator 986 writes, John gave me his answer before, but have the rest of you, unfortunately, no one else is here, have the rest of you seen Robot Jox? And was it the first live-action mech film in the U.S.? Perhaps Robert knows. Again, sorry about that, Aviator. The guys aren't here right now. This is getting answered, and I already gave my answer on that one. So, same thing, Robot Jox. Again, I can't imagine there was another one before that. At least I certainly can't remember there being another one before that. I mean, I believe watching that and thinking, like, I can't believe this is in a movie. Like, it was crazy at the time. And I can't think of anything before that. But if you can, do let me know, because I'd be curious to hear that. It'd be an interesting trivia question. All right, Chaos writes, what if in Endgame there is a scene with Thanos eating a plate of eggs with ketchup? Then he is, I won't be surprised, Chaos, because that will truly mean he's the villain. He is truly a villain if he's sitting there eating a plate of eggs with ketchup. That makes him wholeheartedly 100% a villain, no doubt. All right, Gabriel Reed writes. Oh, where did Gabriel Reed go? Gabriel Reed writes, Game of Thrones could have easily been a disaster. The way they utilize massive world building, immense characterizations with twists and turns while telling an engaging story is a pure gift. Oh, look, they've done a great job. And could it have been an unmitigated disaster? Oh, yeah. Look, whenever you approach anything in life, but particularly in filmmaking and television making, the grander your vision, the higher potential there is for disaster, right? The bigger the vision, the more things that can go wrong. There were a million things that could go wrong with Game of Thrones, not the least of which just that it didn't catch the audience's attention. I mean, that's the first one, but it did. And, I've said this on the show before, I was not a big, massive fan of Game of Thrones. I enjoyed season 1. I hated the end of season 1, but I enjoyed season 1 enough to watch season 2. And I liked season 2, and it was around season 3 and 4 that I really started to love it. And for me, now I know other people feel differently, and that's fine. For me, the show's just been getting better and better. It's been working up to this crescendo for the past couple of seasons. And I know there were a bunch of diehard Game of Thrones fans that didn't exactly love the last season. I did. I thought it was terrific. I loved it a lot. So while I am still not the biggest Game of Thrones fan in the world, I certainly have become, I would qualify myself as a big fan. Not the biggest in the world, not a fanatic, but I would say I'm a big fan of the show now. And before I was just like, yeah, I like the show. But then I became a fan and then became a big fan. And you're right, man. The grander the vision, the more that can go wrong. And there is a million ways the whole Game of Thrones experiment could have gone sideways. And the fact that it pulled off is a testimony to just how rare it is. So everybody else is saying, let's make our Game of Thrones. Do you know how rare that is? It's like a 1 in 1,000. And they nailed it. Can Witcher be the next one with Henry Cavill? Maybe. Can Amazon's Lord of the Rings show be the next one? Maybe. But don't count on it because so many things can go wrong the bigger your vision gets. TJ Thomas goes, what's your top 10 questions? I was about to hang my head when I read, what's your top 10? I was like, oh God. Oh, then I saw the rest of it. What is your top 10 questions? Clever. Clever, TJ. Very clever. All right. Elder Mount writes, will Rey allow Kylo to survive episode 9 to maintain a balance in the Force? Hashtag Shaw has it coming. Oh, I don't think so. Remember, in Luke, in the Return of the Jedi era, returning balance to the Force meant getting rid of the Emperor and Vader. That is what brought balance to the Force, because as long as there was an Emperor and Vader in the universe, it wasn't balanced. There was a desperate disbalance towards the dark side. You had to get rid of those two for there to be balance throughout the universe. Now remember, balance isn't just about Jedi and Sith. Balance is about the life of things throughout the universe. And as long as there was an Emperor and as long as there were a Vader, there was not going to be balance. You could bring that same logic from the original Star Wars films into this, that Kylo represents a disbalance in the Force. And as it went out of balance, because of him, the Force brought out somebody in the light side to try to deal with that issue and deal with that problem. So, no, if you look at consistency from Return of the Jedi to now, it's not like Luke had to keep Vader alive to maintain balance. He had to get rid of Vader so there could be balance across the universe. And I think that's the same kind of reasoning, and at least that's how I see it, for how they need to deal with Kylo going into episode 9. I could be wrong, but that's kind of how I see it. All right, next one. Elam Rem writes, The Matrix will turn 20 next month. Oh, crazy, right? Just insane. Phantom Menace, Matrix, all came out same year, 20 years ago. Wow. And the craziest thing about that, Elam, is that Keanu Reeves doesn't look like he's aged more than maybe 2 years since The Matrix came out. He just looks the same. He looks like he could go back and do that movie again tomorrow. And that is the nuttiest thing about it. And then you continued on, hashtag, we're all old now, except Ashley. She is young and beautiful. Yes, she is, in mind and in spirit. All right. Raymond Verrata writes, since the Enterprise has blown up in a couple of movies now, which do you think will blow up first and get its A variant? Discovery or the Orville? I don't even count Orville. Orville's not a show. Orville is supposed to be a spoof that tries to be something it's not, and that doesn't mean they don't have some episodes that aren't really funny. I haven't watched any of season 2 yet. I will. Season 1 of the Orville was hit and miss to me, but some of the episodes were damn funny. Like damn, and some of them were just utterly stupid, but some of them were damn funny. So it's a little bit of a hit and miss show. My biggest problem with the Orville has always been it pretends to be a spoof show when really it's just a ripoff of Star Trek. It's just a desperate attempt to be a Star Trek show. I don't think the Discovery is going to blow up. I don't think we're going to get the Discovery getting destroyed. Star Trek has played that card many times, so I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen with the Orville either. So I'm going to say neither, Raymond. I'm going to go neither on that one. That's my big guess. Shane Bennis writes, yes, more ketchup on eggs. Yes, ketchup on eggs is Satan's breakfast, but that's nothing. A coworker of mine puts grape jelly on her grilled cheese sandwich. Now, I'm the wrong guy to ask about this, Shane, because I am not a jelly guy at all. Like I'm not into jellies, jams or jellies. I'm really not into either. So I'm the wrong guy to ask. That doesn't sound like a ridiculous idea. I mean, I would never eat that because, like I said, I'm not a jelly guy. But that, I got to admit, in theory, that doesn't sound so crazy. Maybe those of you who are jelly people are going like, no, John, you don't understand. That is the craziest thing ever. You should never do that. Fine. I yield to your opinion on that. I'm just saying, in theory, that doesn't sound like the craziest thing in the world, but maybe it is. Trip Mac writes, Rob, absolutely love your addition to the show. Been watching you and John for years. Loved your time with Schnepp. Thanks for being my best geek friends. Well, thank you so much. You know, that's just another one of the great things that John Schnepp did. He introduced me and Robert Meyer Burnett. And I've really enjoyed, I mean, obviously I enjoyed working with Schnepp, but I've also really enjoyed working with Robert. It's been great. And, you know, he and I talk all the time about like just how crazy it is, especially considering how passionately we disagree on a number of issues. There are a number of issues that Robert and I passionately disagree on, but we love having those disagreements together because we both have a healthy respect for one another and we're able to engage in that, and it's all in fun and it's all great. And yeah, it's I've been very, very lucky to have Rob on the show, and he's been a great addition to the show and the other stuff that he and I do. And it's just a lucky thing for me. Thanks for their comment, Trip. All right, let's see where we're at. Mark C writes, I don't agree with you as often as many, but I agree today. Armie Hammer as Batman is a great idea. Is Warner Brothers possibly trolling the audience to see how he would be received? I don't think so. Now, look, I'm perfectly fine if it's Armie Hammer. I'm perfectly fine if it's not. I really don't care. I just want a great actor. I'm just saying that if they had announced, and we know that story's been debunked. We talked about that on the show this morning. Armie Hammer came out specifically, denied the report, but also Hollywood Reporter and a few other outlets debunked the rumor even before Armie Hammer came out and made his statement. But my belief was simply just that Armie Hammer would make a good Batman. He was cast to play Batman before in George Miller's Justice League movie that he was going to do 10 years ago. He has worked with Warner Brothers. He was in, you know, a number of projects, including The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which he was awesome in, which, by the way, he acted alongside of Superman Henry Cavill. He's a great actor. He's a huge guy. He can pull off the suaveness of a Bruce Wayne and the brutality of a Batman. Look, I'm not saying he's my number one pick. I'm not saying he's the only guy to do it. I'm just saying that had he been the guy picked, I would have been perfectly happy with that. I would have been perfectly happy with him being Batman. But do I think Warner Brothers is possibly trolling on? No. It seems like whenever a studio debunks something, everybody asks, but are they trolling us? And it's usually not the case. Look, who knows how Warner Brothers conducts itself and their rationale and whatever. So maybe it's possible. I'm going to guess it's not. I don't think he's going to be our Batman at this point. It'd be cool if he was, but I don't think that's the case. No, I don't think they're just trolling us at this point. All right. Eric the Red 06 writes, watched Happy Death Day to you, and that emotional scene caught me off guard on a personal level, and I shed tears. I couldn't help myself. Fun, insane sequel. Hearing so many great things about Eric, but I haven't seen it. So I do not know what the emotional scene is. By the way, for all of you who are reading Eric's comments, that's the perfect way to write something that involves something that happens in a movie without spoiling it for people who haven't seen the movie. That is a terrific way to write. You wrote that perfectly. Just an emotional scene caught me off guard. So if I had seen this movie, Eric, I would know exactly what you're talking about. But I haven't seen the movie, and yet I don't feel in any way like you just spoiled anything for me. Perfect way to write something like that. Anyway, as I said before, I still haven't had a chance to see it. I was going to go see it, but I got talked into going to see Alita instead, and I liked Alita. But I really want to watch Happy Death Day to You because I love the first one so much, and I keep hearing from people like you, Eric, that it's really sharp and really good, and now I'm going to look out for an emotional scene. I'll have to keep my eyes open for that. All right. Chocolate Thunder writes, what if you could pick your top 5 fan casting? So you worked in a what if and a top 5 and a fan casting thing all into one short little sentence. Well done, Chocolate. You must have sat down and thought that out because you put that in as few words as possible and you nailed a lot. A very, very efficient use of your words, Chocolate. I must congratulate you on that. All right. Frank Bono writes, any chance you will be at Star Wars Celebration in Chicago? If so, any chance of a fan meet and greet? No, I'm not going to go. Look, I've been very, very frank with people about this. I just got really turned off Star Wars fandom. I mean, I'm still a massive Star Wars fan. I mean, there's my West End Games D6 Star Wars original book. And you see a couple of Star Wars pops there. I got my Vader there, Stormtrooper there, got my Han Solo, or there's my Luke. Where's my old Han Solo? He's back there somewhere. Anyway, I'm still a massive Star Wars fan, but I got really kind of turned off. I got jaded towards Star Wars fandom. It became a really toxic place and just not a fun place to be. And so I made the decision a while ago that I wasn't going to go to Star Wars Celebration this year. And I hope everybody who goes has a magnificent time. I had a blast, had an absolute joyous blast at Star Wars Celebration Orlando 2 years ago. Great time. And I hope those of you who are going have an equally, if not more so, amazing time. And I hope you have a wonderful experience there. It's just that, yeah, for me, I just got soured towards it and I decided that I wasn't going to go. So no, Frank, I won't be there this year, unfortunately. All right. Ray writes, season 2 for Jessica Jones was god-awful. Daredevil was the only show that was consistently good. It was one of the best shows for me in the last 10 years. Still upset over it being canceled. I can understand that, but you know, Ray, I think, and what's the old saying? It is better to have loved and to have lost than to never have loved at all. Fact of the matter is, we got 3 terrific seasons of Daredevil. A lot of great shows never make it that long. There are good shows that come out and disappear in a season or 2, whatever. We got 3 great seasons of Daredevil. And you're right, it was the only one that was consistently good. Luke Cage started strong the first half of season 1. Then after Cottonmouth died, it kind of went downhill after that. And season 2 I did not think was any good at all. I haven't liked any of the Jessica Jones stuff, to be honest with you. Oh God, don't even get me started on Iron Fist. Season 2 was better than season 1. Still not all that great, and season 1 was just a train wreck. And Punisher season 1 was great, and I haven't seen Punisher season 2, but I heard good things about Punisher season 2. But yeah, the most consistent one was Daredevil. But I'd say, you know, rejoice, because we got 3 great seasons. And now you can go back and watch them anytime you want. And yeah, it would have been fun to get another one, but hey, it is what it is. And by the way, I don't think we're going to get a season 4 on any other platforms. I don't think that's in Marvel's plans, but don't count it out. It's possible. Keep Keep the flame burning. Keep hope alive. All right. Chocolate Thunder writes, with Disney keeping R-rated Marvel material separate, will Iger have Feige head up both divisions like Lasseter did for Disney Animation and Pixar? I really don't think so, because remember when Lasseter was heading up both Pixar and Disney Animation, at most, Pixar was putting out one film a year, right? And at most, Disney Animation was putting out one film a year. So you had like 2 films a year that he had to give strict oversight for. On 1 or 2 occasions, 3 films in a year. The MCU is putting out 3 films a year already. By itself, it's putting out 3 films a year. There are whispers that they might even increase that to 4. I don't know how. Like last time I talked to Feige about it, I talked to Kevin Feige, and we were talking about, and this was when I was doing, I mentioned it earlier, I was emceeing and moderating the press conference for Avengers Age of Ultron. And I was standing there with Kevin Feige before we started the presentation, and I'm like, man, you look a little frazzled. He said, John, you have no idea. I just spent 3 hours in a meeting about a Black Panther movie. I got to do this press conference. As soon as I'm done, I've got to get in a golf cart, drive a half a mile across the lot, and hopefully make it in time for a Ant-Man trailer cut meeting to get that all finalized, because it's got to be delivered by tomorrow, and we've got things we're working on, and then I've got to fly to Atlanta to go and do this, and then I have to fly to New York to go do that, and blah. The reason the MCU works is because Kevin Feige has his hands on everything. But that means he can only do so much. So, I'm not saying that Feige can't head up this new banner, whatever it is. I'm not saying he can't. I just don't see how the guy can do it. There are only so many hours in the day. And overseeing and running one movie is all-consuming, let alone 2 or 3 or 4 per year. And he's about to get Fantastic Four and X-Men and all that kind of stuff rolling. I just don't know how he could possibly do it. It does not seem possible. And the sheer volume of work is what differentiates this situation from when Lasseter was overseeing Disney and Pixar. It's a good comparison. It's a good thing you're bringing up. But the difference comes from Pixar was doing like 1 film a year. We got Captain Marvel, Avengers Endgame, and Spider-Man Far From Home all coming out within 5 months of each other. And he's already got tons of work going on Doctor Strange 2, Black Panther 2, and whatever else is coming in Phase 4. It's just such a bigger workload than Lasseter ever had. So I'm going to guess, and again, it is strictly a guess, but from my exposure to Kevin Feige, which is admittedly very limited, it just doesn't seem physically possible. It just doesn't seem physically possible. When you're as hands-on as he is, it doesn't seem like it's something that can really be done. All right. Nate Smith writes, Cinemia offers rollover now on movies. I've heard about that. That is great. So basically, what do you mean by that? So Cinemia will have a plan where you can do like 3 movies a month or whatever it is, right? But that would mean a lot of times, even I as a Cinemia card holder, I get to the end of the month and I've only used 2 of them. Oh, well, then I don't get to use the 3rd one. Now, Cinemia is saying, okay, if you have like a 3 movie a month or a 4 movie a month plan, if you hit the end of the month and you only use 2 of them, guess what? That extra 1 or 2 movies rolls over to the next month. So now the next month, instead of just having 3 movies, you get to add that rollover one, and now you got 4 you can see that month. That's a nice little thing they threw in there. They didn't have to do that. I think it's a nice move to keep themselves competitive with something like AMC, and I think it's a nice move. I admittedly don't use Cinemia much anymore because I do live right beside a big major AMC theater, and I have A-list. So I've only used my Cinemia card like twice in the past 6 months, but it is a nice little thing that they do. It's a nice. I should have about 20 films rolled over right now. Okay, the Popcornator writes, seen the trailer for the comedy yesterday. The Beatles never existed, but some guy gets rich off their songs. Looks funny to me. Yeah, Popcornator. We actually did a big segment on that yesterday trailer a couple of days ago, talking about it. Wonderful trailer. I'm not even a Beatles fan. I am not a Beatles fan. And everybody gets mad at me when I say that. But whatever, I'm just telling you the truth. I'm not a Beatles fan. But I thought that trailer was great. And for those of you who didn't see it, it's a simple premise, but it's awesome. A guy wakes up, and all of a sudden, and he's a musician, nobody in the world remembers who the Beatles are. Like they never existed. He wakes up in a world in which the Beatles never existed. But he knows all the Beatles songs. So he starts to write the Beatles songs and becomes the biggest music star in the world, making somebody else's music. It's a terrific idea. I thought the trailer was fantastic. If you guys have not seen the trailer for it, follow the Popcornator's advice and go check it out. I think you're going to enjoy it. And even though I'm not a Beatles fan, I am really looking forward to this movie. And I think Lily James is in it. Lily James. Okay. Mark C. writes, your Star Wars title will be Star Wars, the spark that lights the ember, that lights the fire, that lights the inferno, that will burn down the First Order. That's a reference to something else. Crap, I can't... I'm stumped. I cannot remember what that's a reference to. You got me on that one, but that's funny. I like that. Well done, Mark C. Well done. All right. Rick and Man 85 writes, or Rick and Man 85 writes, they should do something similar to the comics in Avengers Endgame. Maybe Nebula getting the gauntlet, etc. See, the thing though is, Rick and Man, it depends on what they meant by it in full. But in the DVD commentary, the special features commentary, director's commentary of Avengers Infinity War, the Russo brothers, the directors of the film, said that at that end, the gauntlet was permanently damaged. Permanently damaged. I don't think Nebula has played the kind of role in the MCU to call for her wielding the gauntlet. And I think, honestly, the gauntlet's being taken out of play. Again, I might be reading too much into what, admittedly, I might be reading too much into what the Russo brothers said. But they did say that both Thanos and the gauntlet have been permanently damaged. Now, clearly, it worked well enough that Thanos was still able to use the gauntlet to use the Space Stone to create a vortex for himself to escape away from Thor. But that gauntlet was mangled and steaming and all chewed up, and exerting that much power, erasing half the life in the universe, took its toll on the gauntlet. So, I don't know. I don't think it would make much sense. So, look, hey, they may do something like that, because like you mentioned, in the comics, at one point, Nebula does wield the gauntlet, but I don't think they're heading that way. Lots of things that happen in the comic book story that they never do on screen, and I think right now they've moved past that, and I don't think that would work out continuity-wise for the movies. But stranger things have happened. Let's keep our eyes open. All right, DAL writes, thoughts on Grace from Beyond the trailer confirming cameos from Black Adam and Superman in Shazam. I don't think we'll see them, possibly Supes. I am not here to give commentary on any other film pundit. I am not here to give commentary or opinion on any other film thing. I would say listen to her reasoning and you decide for yourself if they sound valid and solid. Maybe it's true. Maybe it's not. I don't think Black Adam or Superman... Well, I mean, there are reports going around that Superman, not Henry Cavill, but just like a silhouette of Superman and just seeing him from the neck down and whatever, might make a quick appearance. That's possible. I've heard other people say that. I don't think Black Adam's showing up, but again, who knows? So, again, I am not in the business of making commentary of other specific commentators' thoughts. That's her thought. Look into her thought, listen to her rationale, and maybe you'll agree, maybe you'll disagree. Let's see. Caledon Sound writes, according to headlines, trolls are already review bombing Captain Marvel because feminist agenda yawn. Looking forward to watching the film's success. Again, it's a matter. Look, I haven't been there, but I'm going to go check it right now. So, Captain Marvel, Rotten Tomatoes. Okay, so if you go there right now, there are. Yeah, see, the people, the listing of it. There's this organized thing. A couple of days ago, Captain Marvel's the people want to see it rating was at 90+%. And then this organized thing started to happen of everybody going downvote it. And now it's at 64%. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I keep telling people never pay attention to IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes fan ratings, because there's no quality control to say, oh, this person actually saw the movie or knows what they're talking about. It's also completely open and subjective to organized things like that. So that's why I keep telling people the only quote unquote fan score that's even remotely reliable, and none of them are perfect, is CinemaScore, because they are actually physically there at the movie theaters surveying people as they come out of the movie, so they can 100% verify that the person they're talking to saw the film. IMDb cannot do that with the fan stuff. Rotten Tomatoes cannot do that with the fan stuff, and that's why all that stuff is completely meaningless. And even CinemaScore isn't worth all that much, but it's the most legit one there is, because it's immune to that sort of organized attacks or people putting up reviews to movies that they never saw, and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I always say, if you want a fan rating, look at the CinemaScore one, because the other ones just simply don't mean anything. Anyway, that's just my thoughts. All right. Roman Bryant writes, silly idea, but how about Thanks dies like Scar? Every hero surrounds him, and they all leap on him and beat him to death. I'm sorry, Roman. I don't know what we're talking about. I apologize, man. I don't know what we're talking about. Sorry, dude. Angus Dustagear writes, hello, hope you're doing well. Would you agree that Brendan Fraser may be coming back to prominence? No. He seems much happier now and is a big part of DC. I don't know that he's a big part of DC. I mean, obviously he's playing Robot Man, and that's cool. He was also just in that TV show. He had a role in that one TV show. So he's there too. Is he coming back to prominence? No, I don't think so. I'm not seeing nearly enough to say he's coming back to prominence. But I would love to see Brendan Fraser make a big comeback. I mean, like you, I read all the stuff about what he went through and what he was dealing with, and it's heartbreaking. I used to love seeing Brendan Fraser in movies. I admit, one of my big guilty pleasure movies is his George of the Jungle with Leslie Mann. Big crush on Leslie Mann. I used to love his George of the Jungle, and I like his other movies too. I like him. I think he's fun to see on screen. I think he's got a good charm and charisma to him. I think he's a good actor. So I would love to see him come back. But do I think these little things equal he's come back to prominence? I don't think so, not yet. But I hope he does. I certainly hope he does, Angus, because I count myself as a fan. All right. George85 writes, over under 45% over under that John Wick dies at the end of the third movie. I'm going to take the under on that, because I believe they've already confirmed in the upcoming Continental series, which I think they've said is not a prequel, but the upcoming TV series, The Continental, will have a couple of appearances by John Wick. So if what they're telling us is true, and that is happening, and it's not a prequel, then that kind of precludes the idea that he dies at the end. So while I will not say 10% chance that he dies, I think it's more than a 10% chance that he dies. I just think that whole thing about the show and his appearance coming up in it means I got to take the under. So I'm going to take the under on 45%. All right. Tom Waters writes, thoughts on how Han got his last name in Solo? I really didn't care. Was it brilliant? No. No. Who are you with? I'm alone. Okay, so Han Solo. Okay. I mean, I really don't care. I always just assumed his name was just Han Solo. I didn't think it needed to have a backstory of how he got the name. But it was there. He said it, and they moved on. I really didn't care. But was it anything great or special? Nah. And it didn't need to be. That's the thing. It didn't need to be there. Just say his name's Han Solo. Why does there have to be an origin story to his name? Like I said, it was perfectly fine the way it happened, but it's not exactly one of the highlights of the film. All right, Albert Vasquez writes, what's up with Hellboy? Haven't seen or heard much. Well, it's coming. It's coming. They put out the one trailer. Look, and they've got a limited marketing budget. It's not like they're spending the type of money that an Avengers is going to spend on their marketing budgets. So they want to time it out right. It's coming. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know why. A lot of people did not like the trailer. It was a very different trailer from what I was expecting, but I enjoyed it. I was caught off guard by it because it was, like I said, completely different from what I think a lot of us were expecting the trailer to be. But once I got over that and got over the fact, okay, it's not what I was expecting, but do I like it for what it is? Yeah, I did. But I know a lot of you didn't, so I don't know. But I don't know what, there's not much to hear. I mean, the movie's coming. The first trailer's dropped. We're going to get another trailer pretty soon here. How well this movie will do, I don't know. I do not know. There's going to be a lot of competition. It didn't get off to a great first step with a not well-received first trailer. Hard to overcome that. All I know is that I'm excited to see it, and I hope it's really good. Okay. Dim Sum 05 writes, why does the general public watch the Oscars? Because even the general public loves the movies. And, you know, most people in the general public have seen a few movies, and they like to watch the Oscars and see who won the big Oscars, the big awards ceremony. Look, even as a film fan, as a kid, I watched the Oscars every year. I loved watching the Oscars. And I know a lot of people have Oscar watching. You know, it's the same reason, Dim Sum, why a lot of people who don't watch football will still watch the Super Bowl. It's the big event. You know, there are more first-time football watchers on Super Bowl Sunday than any other time of the year. A lot of people who didn't watch a single game this year, still watch the Super Bowl because it's the Super Bowl. Same thing. A lot of people may not go to see 25 movies a year, but they'll still watch the Oscars because it's the Oscars, right? So yeah. And finally, ending off today's show is James Colazzo, who writes, have any intel on Logan's Run remake? None. And this Logan's Run remake goes back like, oh my God. Like, I remember it was like 5, 6, 7 years ago that Bryan Singer was going to do a Logan's Run remake. It was his passion project for a while. Then he dropped that. Then somebody else said they were going to do it. And then recently somebody else, I believe it's in development. I could be wrong about that, but I believe it's in development. Hold a second here. No, there's nothing on the docket about anything upcoming, but I believe there is a studio that's kind of trying to develop the idea and figure out a way to do a remake. But again, this is one that they've been talking about doing for a long time. And it seemed to have its most momentum back in the day when Bryan Singer was behind it. Clearly, that's not the case anymore. But aside from that, I have no further information, unfortunately. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of our companion videos. We are now all caught up on all the stuff that you guys have been waiting for, and I hope you guys saw all your questions in there. Don't forget, we will be back again tomorrow morning with a new episode of The John Campbell Show with me, Robert Meyer Burnett, Ashley Whalen, the whole bit. Make sure you come back and join us for that as well. Guys, thanks for being here. Thanks for sending in all those questions and supporting the channel that way. I am always grateful that you do both. That'll do it for me for now, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us. My name's John Campbell, and until the next video, bye-bye.